was in the hospital, I asked God, don't give me what I want.
There it is.
Give me what I need, because everything I wanted could not take care of me like this man has taken care of me.
That's so good, Shanta. We take vows through sickness and in health. Y'all were challenged with those vows on both sides. When was your first challenge?
2012, I started having some health issues. One day I was on a treadmill and I started feeling fluttering in my chest that I had never felt before. I went to a cardiologist. They diagnosed me with exercise-induced arrhythmia. In 2017, we are going to make a donation. I opened the truck door and I just fall out. I had a TIA that day.
It's like a mini stroke.
And this was my first major misdiagnosis. I wasn't given any medication. Was basically told that, hey, these are the adjustments that you need to make in your life. I was working for the IRS at the time. Anytime anybody hear you work for the IRS, they automatically assume that you stress. No, I don't owe taxes. I uphold the laws. About, I think, 8 or 9 months later, the ER doctor comes in. He said, well, when I tell you this, I want you to calm down. He says, you're having a heart attack. And it was probably one of the scariest moments in my life because my daughter was right there.
And the last incident was what?
That was the stroke. Immediately, I went into rehabilitation, inpatient rehabilitation, and was in that for the next almost 2 years.
You found out that you had prostate cancer. How, Roy?
One of my good friends called me and said he had just had prostate surgery, and he didn't tell anybody. He kept it to himself. And I wasn't having any of those symptoms, but just the fact that it was that close. And so I called and I got everything moved up. They tested it, sent me the results, and they said, yeah, we found a little corner pocket over here that is cancerous.
Statistics say that in most cases, when a woman is terminally ill, the husband leaves.
Yep.
And there was never a time that I thought that he would leave me. To have someone that I felt loves me like Christ loves the church.
There it is.
There's nothing we can't go through.
The Dear Future Wifey podcast has global impact. From Texas,
I have been on this journey of healing and self-discovery, and this podcast has been a vital part of my process.
Guyana,
God's establishing through you a legacy, a display of freedom found in authentic spirituality.
California,
I've learned so much as a single man through your podcast and continue to learn so much as now a married man.
Nigeria,
This is just therapy for me. I've been healed. I've been strengthened in my convictions. I've understood how to do singlehood better.
Amsterdam,
The way that you've shown us how it is possible for a man to be as intentional as you are.
New Jersey,
I appreciate your vulnerability. I appreciate just being able to see that there is life after divorce.
to New York,
I am a single woman, so these episodes really give me hope and courage that God does have a husband for me.
Discover, uncover, and recover love. I'm Lateris R. Whitfield, and this is season 10 of the Dear Future Wifey podcast. Welcome to the Dear Future Wifey podcast. I'm your host, Lateris R. Whitfield. Listen, are you still shacking up with us? If you're still shacking up with us, can we get a commitment? Hit that subscription button and subscribe. Make sure you turn your notification bell so you'll be notified about upcoming episodes. Hey, listen, I've been getting a lot of DMs from y'all asking when the book is coming out. The book will be coming out January the 13th. Shout out to HarperCollins and W Publishing for finding value in the words that I speak on the Dear Future Wifey podcast, where they wanted to put it in the book. And so I thank God for that. Shout out to Dr. Gary Chapman for doing the foreword to the book. Y'all know him as the writer of the 5 love languages. And so it brought great honor that after reading the book, he said, I definitely want to put my name on it. So thank you so much, Dr. Gary Chapman, for that. Take a moment and watch this promo video about Student of Love. I was married, cheated, flunked out of marriage. These eyes have seen the pain of failure, but also the possibility of redemption. These ears have heard the lies. You'll never change. But they've also caught the whisper of truth. Lateris, you can learn love on a level you've never known. This finger once carried a vow I wasn't ready to honor. Today it's empty, but it's unashamed. It's waiting on a covenant I'll protect with wisdom. Will you marry me? I'm no expert. I'm just a fellow student. I've sat in love's classroom, even spent time in detention. but now I live with intention. That's why I wrote Student of Love, because learning love never ends. Sit next to me and cheat off of my paper. Cheat? Tony, should I use a better word? Let's just cut to the chase. Pre-order this book and start the journey on becoming a true student of love. Class is now in session. Link is in the description. Make sure you hit that link right now. Go ahead and pre-order your book. I'm telling you, your life will be changed. It will be changed. The book was written to show us not just about romantic relationships, but all relationships, on how to love each other more effectively. Well, this king and queen saw them on social media. They've been taking social media by storm. I love that they're able to play together, laugh together, and just enjoy life together. And when I look at this couple, I say they embody what I believe the Dear Future Wifey podcast is all about: having healthy, thriving marriages. Don't make marriage so boring. Have fun, laugh. The Bible says laughter doeth the heart good as medicine. And so they've gone through a lot in their marriage, and I thank them for coming on Dear Future Wifey podcast so we can have hope. And those that are single, that you understand the gravity of those vows that you take. So without further ado, welcome to Dear Future Wifey podcast. Roy Williams Jr.
Thank you.
SHANTAQUILETTE Williams, how you doing?
I'm doing excellent. I'm glad to be here. Thank you for inviting us.
So should I call you SHANTAQUILETTE or Shanta Q?
Whatever you want to call me. Whatever makes you feel comfortable in the moment.
SHANTAQUILETTE just sounds so official. Just sounds so whatever. I'm gonna call you Shanta.
Okay.
Shanta.
No, I didn't say that. I said
Shanta Q.
You gave me two. You gave me two options.
So Shanta Q or SHANTAQUILETTE. Yeah. I can't call you Shanta.
Can't call me Shanta.
Okay, Shanta Q. Okay.
You gave me two options.
Oh yeah, my bad. I should have gave you three. Shanta Q. So let me tell you something. Let's just jump right in. Let me ask you, how you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well today. You know,
today?
I'm doing
yesterday
well today.
You wasn't doing so well?
I was doing great yesterday.
But today you're doing well.
I'm doing well.
What about you, Roy?
I'm doing excellent. Another day above ground. I'm good.
6 feet above.
6 feet. Yeah. That's the goal, Landon. How long have y'all been married?
20 years.
20 years.
20 years.
And y'all dated for how long before y'all got married?
About 4.
4.
So Roy, let me ask you this. What were you about to say?
We dated. I was about to say we dated, we shacked, we did a little bit of everything.
Oh, y'all did it all?
Yeah.
So how long did y'all live together before y'all got married?
3 years? 3 years.
About 3 years.
All right, so Roy, I'm gonna ask you, what made you decide to, well, I'm assuming you proposed to her and not her proposing to you, right?
Right.
Because Shanta Q seemed like she may be aggressive.
I will drink sand from a desert till it's empty before I get on one knee for any man. I would drink the ocean dry.
Before you ever
with a baby bottle.
With a baby bottle. So let me ask you this, Roy. What made you propose to Shanta Q?
I just knew. So when I first met Shanta, it was kind of almost like a divine intervention kind of a situation.
Explain what happened.
We were both in Texas, in Arlington. I was new to Texas. I was just leaving the military, just moved from Virginia. My sisters had moved to Fort Worth. And so I'd been here 6-7 months, maybe, not very long. And I happened to be in a bar and ran into Shanta and her friend. And so just me out, single guy. Hey,
Are you small?
That is not what he said.
I touched her friend.
Yeah, you got to tell the whole story.
I said,
we gonna tell you, tell it all.
I want to talk to your friend. What's something like that.
Yeah,
it was 25
He
years
said, "What's your
ago.
name? What's your sign?"
And so we started a conversation in there, and it just so happens we started talking about. I asked her where she was from.
Yeah.
And she said, "I'm from Denver, Colorado." And I was like, "Really?" I was like, "I grew up in Denver. I went to elementary, junior high school."
Really?
Yeah. And I was like, okay.
Right.
Here we go.
And so then, we started naming.
Right.
You always lying. And so we started talking about, familiar places in the city. We went to the same high school, just at a different time.
Y'all did?
I'm a couple years older than her.
He ran it down.
We lived in the same neighborhood.
Yeah. First,
really?
Yeah. First, he was running it down, and he was just saying, he said, I said I was from Denver.
No, you can lean over there like you're doing.
Yeah, I said I was from Denver, Colorado, and he was like, "Oh, I'm from Denver too." And then that's kind of I was like, "Oh, here we go." And then he said, "Where in Denver did you live?" And I said, "I lived in Montbello." And he said, "I lived in Montbello too." And I was like,
Stop lying.
"Yeah, like what?" He's like, "I lived in Montbello too."
So in Denver, is that a very uncommon place, or where you find a lot of people that?
Well, the area that we are,
people like that.
The area that we are is like a military, kind of like a military base, and it is probably the most populated with African Americans, right? You would say Montbello.
Yeah, Montbello was kind of the middle class neighborhood for Black people in Denver, right?
So when you said that, you thought?
Well, first I still thought was like, okay, like. That he's been there, and he probably knows somebody there. He has relatives there, and so he said, "Where did you live?" And I said, "I lived on 44th in Duluth." And he said, "I think you said you're living on 53rd in Xanadu." And so I was like, "Okay, well that's real specific." That's real specific. And so then I still was like, "Oh no, you probably still your auntie. You probably came there for the summer." And then he said, what did you go to Montbello High School? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, I bet you I can tell you. Oh, no, he said, what sport did you play sports? I said, yeah. He said, what sport? I said, I ran track. And he said, I bet you I could tell you what your coach's name was. And I was like, what? And he was like, Donald Gatewood. And I was like, oh, okay. Love him.
And the heavens opened up.
And the heavens opened up. And the flowers started blooming, and the birds started chirping. Yeah, so and that's basically how it happened.
So that was the beginning of our relationship.
We exchanged information, and
then our real first date, our real first date. Now, granted,
we had some few.
That was already divine intervention, right? Yeah, just the meeting. Yeah. So we did a few. You go to eat, and that. But the really first. So I invited her to go to Louisiana with me.
Really?
To my cousin's funeral.
Dang.
Right.
That's heavy.
But there's no, just think about it. You're going to get every sort of thing, every attitude, every
emotions,
personality
people
at a family funeral.
And I was thinking like, why would he want to invite me to a funeral? My mom was like, baby, that's where all his family's going to be. He's trying to show you off. I said,
and so you get a taste of, you know what I mean? She going to get all the personalities. They going to get all the personality out of her.
So why did you do that though?
Because it was, I think my grandma and somebody them told me, you find a woman you want to be with, take them to a family event or a get together where your crazy folks and your normal folks all going to be, and let each one of them
the crazy
kind of talk to her. You really get to see the true person in a situation.
How old were you during that time?
27, 28.
Yeah. He said brought to the funeral.
I was 22.
Brought her out of town. You said you were 22, he was 27?
Yeah.
They got 5-year age difference?
No, it's 7.
We got a 7-year age difference.
Okay. A little bit older than that. Yeah.
So that was kind of our first coming out party right there was my cousin, and it was.
And we had been dating
for a
show. While. We had been. It was about 3 months already. We had been.
Yeah, it was like 3-4 months.
Yeah. Y'all were exclusive at that point.
Pretty much. Yeah, pretty much. I hadn't made my decision yet, but.
Shanta Q, you ain't made the decision yet?
No. We were
still out.
I didn't have nobody.
We were pretty much.
He said pretty much.
Because, it was like, I was picking up from work and taking up. We was always.
I can say he really courted me.
Together.
Yeah.
I used to bring ice cream.
Cream, everything. He would buy me ice cream, pick me up from work. He would come all the way across town and drop me food off for work and then go back to his job. And so for me, I had just gotten out of. Before I met him, I had been in a pretty, I won't say tumultuous, but I had been in a relationship that didn't end well. And so I wasn't really at that time looking to be in a relationship. I was kind of scared. And so yeah.
Yeah.
And so in that situation, and so life was just so much more difficult back then. Like you said, drive all across town. Now dudes just send you some Uber Eats and be done with it.
Right.
But I love the intention that, look how she looks. She's like, you're going to have to bring me some food.
But my daddy said, a man courts you. A man
so he can't court you with technology?
He said, if a man wants you, he going to show you he wants you.
So he can't court you with technology?
No, he going to come and bring me. He going to come and bring me the food. Like, he could have ordered a pizza.
Different time. Different time.
In 2000, he could have ordered me a pizza.
There's DMs and stuff now.
You're right.
So different time.
Yeah, we didn't have, you didn't really
No
have
Instagram
the
and
text
DMs
message or anything like that, right?
Yeah, it's different time.
So you came over. Well, who taught you how to court? Did anybody teach you that, or is it just instinctive?
It was kind of instinctive, I guess you could say. But I, in Denver, I lived with my aunt and my uncle, right? And so my uncle was an old school Air Force guy, right? Like old school militant, and he was a traditional family values kind of a guy. And so when I say traditional, he was the kind of man to where they went to work. When I came home from school, make sure ain't no dishes in the sink, make sure the laundry started, vacuum, get the trash together, and every night we sat at the table and had dinner. Every night, we ain't miss no nights. And make sure you got some Kool-Aid made because he liked to drink, tropical punch Kool-Aid. And we all sat, me, him, and mom. Because at that time, my first cousins, they were all grown, so they were out the house. And so when I moved in at 11 years old, I was their new kid. So it was just me, it's just us three most of the time. And so he was a real traditional man. And so I got to see that all the time of how he treated my aunt, what they did, they discussed it. There wasn't a lot of secrets in the house. Yeah. They would sit down and I could hear them discussing whether it was finances, future bills, what have you, vacations, church outing, whatever it was. And so just from, seeing that, it was like, oh, okay, well, you gotta communicate, you gotta talk, that was really the biggest thing I learned from their relationship. Was
communication.
Their communication. And if you can do that, everything else falls in place.
That's good.
You know what I'm saying?
That's good.
So that's really where that foundation came from. Just, you talk enough, and, it's a good and a bad thing. Some dudes talk to you and they keep talking and it don't end up well. And some, and it ends up, fortunately for us, it's been 25, 26 years.
So when you saw her, what did you think? I know, you may have looked at her and say, oh, she's attractive, I just want to get to know her. But were you looking for something intentional?
That night.
You said what?
I was the baddest thing in the club that night.
Yeah, she was the baddest thing in the club. Because whenever I went to the club, I went for the baddest thing in the club. She's not lying about that. I wasn't going to go there for the third runner-up. But I wanted number one. So she lied about that. Yeah, I wanted number one. But the thing about it is sometimes you go in places and you see someone and they're just different.
Yep.
And it was like she was just different.
Yeah.
She was tall, slender, had this really long, pretty hair. She's got like this amazing hair, right? And it was just long and she was, tall. You know what I mean? Like
you can't say 24, 32,
model, model looking. And I was like, man, I know she's not from here. It's I know everybody from here. So, I know she here. So just that alone, and that was, I think me and my buddy Jamil, we were just coming into that bar, and so it was
a happy hour.
I wasn't there 10 minutes before. I got her attention.
So it was Cristal's. You remember Cristal's?
No, it wasn't Cristal's.
It was Cristal. Not Cristal's.
No, it was Jamie's.
It was Jamie's Rhythms.
Jamie's Rhythms. Yeah, Jamie, the original Jamie. Yeah. It's a pawn shop now.
Yeah. On a Thursday. On Thursday night.
Yeah, it was like in the afternoon. They used to do stuff in the afternoon, the jazz thing, all that. And so...
But when you saw her, what did you think? Were you thinking, like, what state of mind were you in?
I got to have her.
No, but were you having her like, I just want to smash? Or you saying, this is the person I want to marry? This is the person I just want to see what's up? Like, what state of mind were you in at that 27 years old? Were you marriage-minded?
I wasn't marriage minded.
Okay.
But I want to smash minded either. That was not difficult for me at that time.
He said,
I've been around the world, so I was different. Like I said, I was a military man, so that wasn't the thing for me. It was getting to the point at 27 where I was trying to slow down. I was trying to get settled.
Yeah.
I was looking for a good woman.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I wasn't looking for the club chick. I wasn't looking for, one night stand. I wasn't looking for any of that. I was looking for somebody that I could be with for 40 years. Right. So, hindsight being 2020, I accomplished what I needed to accomplish.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah. So Shanta Q, during that time, you just came out of a tumultuous relationship. I know you don't want to use that word, but it just wasn't healthy.
I wouldn't even say it wasn't healthy. It was just he was somebody I knew in high school, and we weren't married. We were shacking. We were both having outside relationships within the relationship. And it just was not a situation because I had a daughter at the time, and it was not a relationship that I wanted to progress.
Yeah.
I didn't want to have it. It wasn't stable. And my father, being how I was raised, the reason why I came to Texas is my dad was like, I didn't raise you to shack up. I didn't raise you that way. I don't like it. And I need you to come to Texas. And that's what I did. But then in between that, I had dated a few guys, and then I had been, I think about 4 months before I met him, I was a victim of a violent crime. And so everything was just, because I was going out and hanging out and just was in the wrong place at the wrong time. And so my focus was really traditionally trying to get myself better, in a better place, getting myself healthy. But I will tell you, when I was in the hospital, I told the Lord, I said, Lord, don't ever give me what I want again. Give me what I need. Give me exactly what I need. And he gave me a little bit of Peter. He gave me a little bit of David. He gave me a little Boaz. He gave me a little Moses, King Solomon. He gave me a little bit of everybody. Gave me everything that I needed.
But in that mindset, were you looking for marriage?
No, I wasn't. I wasn't thinking. I wasn't really marriage minded, like he said at the time. I was just really focused on me and my daughter. Focused on me and my daughter. And so I hadn't been out. That was the first time that I had been out.
When you ran into him?
When I ran into him. It was the first time that I had been out in a while. It was the day before my birthday, October 3rd. It was just like I was just going out to have fun. I wasn't going out to meet anybody. And I remember when I met him, I came back and told my mom and my dad that I met this guy. And he's
told your parents about it.
Yeah, that he's from Denver, because Denver is small. Denver is very small.
He said, of course.
Of course, right.
He said, yeah, she better tell her parents.
Yeah, and so my dad is someone, he's very inquisitive. So my dad's like, well, where he's from? Where about? Yeah, where about? And my dad used to do stuff on the radio and things like that. So my dad was just really inquisitive, and so I think it was maybe like a week. I think we talked on the phone a few times, and then I think the next week he invited. We went out to the same place where we met. And it was like, I think maybe about 5 or 6 people in there at that time. And then we just sat and talked and danced. And then it just progressed. It progressed. He hadn't met my daughter. At the time, because I was really like, I protected that. I protected my child. I didn't want to bring her around anybody that I wasn't going to be serious with, or didn't know if I wanted to be serious with. But he was, like I said, he really courted me. Like, he took me out to eat. I remember we went shopping a few times, and he was just fun to be around. He's just fun to be around. And I never met anybody who was just as silly as me.
That's good.
That was silly to me. And he made me laugh all the time. And then I believe my mom, because my mom was seeing how serious he was being. And my mom could kind of see my kind of hesitancy and how I was kind of being reluctant. And my mom was like, that man wants you. That man wants to be with you. And I remember he came, he needed his hair braided. At this time, he had a little fro. And he was like, you know anybody?
A little fro.
Yeah. Some inches, little stitches when you braid it up. But
That's a little flats.
little flat.
Always a hater.
Gotta have balance. But he was like, do you know somebody who can braid my hair? And I was like, oh, my mama can braid. My mama can braid really well. And he was kind of like your mama, like your mama.
Right.
And he came over. And
this is the first time he meeting her.
Yeah,
it was the first time he met her. It was the first time. It was the first time he met my parents, and it was old school braid because he sat between her legs. He sat between her legs, and
I'm like,
he was an old school braid, and she was just talking. He sat between her legs, and she braided his hair. And
I like that.
And after he left, my mom just talked about how good of a guy he was. Like he just seems like a really nice guy. And are you interested in him? And then I think my mom was tired of me staying there too. I don't know. But just kidding. But I was there because I moved for but no, she was just really just emphasizing that that's a good man. That is a good man. And she was telling me a man is not going to do this. He's not going to do that. A man is not going to go the extra effort to do the things that he's doing. Now he's coming. He's met your parents. He's met your dad. He's making himself visible.
Absolutely.
To you. And so, but I still, I liked him. I liked him. And then I remember when I think I went to New Orleans, and he was in Oklahoma, and he called me. He called me and he's like, what are you doing? I was down having fun, and he was having fun. And at the end of the call, he said, I love you. And I was like, okay, what am I supposed to say? Even though I felt it, but it was just so much fear at that time, because I was just, like I said, I had been in relationships that just didn't pan out well. And so even from my daughter's father. And
so at this point, how long have y'all been dating?
So this was February, because that was
yeah,
so about 5 months later.
Yeah, that was about 5 months.
October the 3rd.
Yes, because we were down, because that was when the New England Baltimore Ravens was in the Super Bowl in New Orleans.
Yeah, October.
Yeah, so it was like February.
Almost 6 months.
And so I just felt so good about it. I felt so
you're
happy.
Talking about 6 months, you were still scared with hearing the words "I love you."
Because the enemy. The enemy loves to pray. When he sees something like this, see, the enemy doesn't know your future. He knows your past.
Teach.
And so he plays on your past. And so that's what he was doing, playing on my past, putting all that doubt, all that insecurity in my mind, and trying to keep me from greatness, keeping me from my destiny, keeping me from what I needed, because God already knew the future. God already seen what was coming down the line. And so you
said greatness, right?
Yeah. I did. I very well did say greatness. I very well said greatness. I did. I can spell it for you if you like me to.
I am the greatest.
But yeah, and so I felt so good about it.
What did you say back? Nothing?
I didn't. I did not say anything back.
She didn't say nothing.
I didn't say anything back. I just.
So how did you feel when she didn't say nothing?
I anticipated that.
Really?
Yeah, it was kind of a let me see, because as a man how the woman you're dating is feeling. You know the energy, and so I knew that when we were together, we had a great time. There was no problem. Everything was good, but it was still that little hesitancy and all of that, and so you could sense that. So it was one of those. Let me just throw this seed.
Trial closed.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I wasn't hurt or shocked or bothered, because I anticipated.
Yeah.
These is all calculated moves when you're dating. So
hold on, Roy. I want you to break that down, because see, women don't understand. That's why I even use the word trial closed. And he's saying these are calculated moves that men do while they date. I want you to elaborate on that, because here it is. You met her October the 3rd. You said, I'm going for the baddest in the room. She's the baddest in the room. You said, I'm going to go for her, right? So you shot your shot at it. You even talked to her friend to whisper to her friend. And what happens a lot of times with men, they'll go get that buy-in from your friend to be like, hey, because if I get that validation, now I got somebody to advocate on my behalf. Be like, girl, give him a chance. Give him a chance. Because if you isolate the friend out the way, then the friend can get an attitude, be like, he rude. He didn't even try to talk to me. He didn't even speak to me. He ain't. We here together. Why he ignoring me? Go get the buy-in from the friend. Talk to the girl so you get somebody to advocate. So when you say throughout this 6-month period, what were some things, if you can go back in your mind, that you were doing that you were setting up the ultimate proposal, basically? Because you had to get to a place of proposal. And at the point, you wasn't thinking marriage-minded, but you were looking at, I want to feel out this relationship, understand her better, understand me, I'm getting settled in my life. Is this a person I'm going to do life with, whether we do it as boyfriend and girlfriend for 5 months or whether we transition to marriage? So what were you doing in that 6-month period?
That's funny that most men know.
Yeah.
As men, we know the steps, the process to get there. And it was just like, I went through the friend initially. And the friend was cool. And the friend's like, girl, you are, So I got the friend okay. And so I took her to meet my folks shortly thereafter, a couple dates. Then she met. And my family, I come from a family of women. There's very few men in my family. So I have 3 older sisters.
Okay.
So baby boy, ain't nobody good enough for the baby boy, right? And then all of my older cousins, female. So they all ain't nobody good enough. You know, it was one of them situations where there had been a few trials that didn't make it past the family. Right?
Exactly.
So she made it past the family. Everybody liked her in the family. And so then
what did that mean? What did that mean when you got the buy-in from the family?
The funny thing about that, it almost mimics what that was scary. Because now I'm like, okay, now I got to be serious. I got to be,
absolutely.
It's grown up man time. Because, you don't want to fumble. You get sent something special, you don't want to fumble it, right?
And then all your family members talking about, you done messed that up.
Right. Every time I go try to get something to eat, where that girl, that was a good girl. You old stupid. You got to hear all that.
You got to hear that for
how you messed that up.
The next 10 family reunions.
Yeah. So, you got to get serious now.
Yeah.
Now it's go time now.
Yeah.
And then I met her family. And right away, me and her dad hit it off. That's one of the rarest things when you're trying to date a man's daughter.
Yes.
And you a total stranger coming into that man's house, and that man likes you right off, and that's rare. There's normally conflict there.
Absolutely.
And normally most men don't have it. Like me, I have daughters, so I don't have a problem telling the dude, man, no, that sorry.
And has and did and would and
sorry. You was not going nowhere with him, right? And so to get the approval from her,
what you say?
and did,
her dad, and I even heard her mom tell her one time, girl, that man, he bringing you ice cream and stuff, man. He really what's that?
Yeah.
I heard her mom saying that, and so I got the approval from everybody I needed. Everything else was on me.
Yes.
And so all I had to do was not mess it up, for one, continue to do what I was doing because it was working at every level. I had cleared every obstacle. All I had to do was go in for the pot of gold.
Land the plane.
Right? Just land. Everything else was on autopilot.
Yep.
And so by me getting to that point and getting through all those levels, I said, well, let me try something. And, she out of town with her friends, and I know, you go out with your girls, you're having fun, you with a bunch of other women, Super Bowl, it's a bunch of men and women, it's a Super Bowl going on. So I know what that is.
Yep.
So I just, wanted to put something in her ear. It's like, you got something to come home to.
There it is.
And love you. And I wasn't expecting, but I knew by me doing that at that event, she gonna be thinking about that the whole time.
That part.
That whole
And
weekend.
I was.
So it don't matter what dude come up to her the whole weekend. She thinking, I gotta get back on the road.
Cause see, you at the Super Bowl and that Chris Brown song, "When I'm Rich, Won't You?" And your man can't do nothing for you.
Yeah.
But he could do everything. But you know that.
Yeah. So when he planted that seed in your mind, it was a seed planted.
It was a seed planted, definitely. It was a seed planted, and he's right. I thought about it the whole time. Like I even told my sister, I told my friend, and and I remember Keisha was like, "Well, what you gonna do?"
Exactly.
Like, what you gonna do? And I was like,
that's the friend that was with her.
Yeah.
Keisha was always on my team.
Yeah.
Keisha was my dog.
She was your wingman.
Yeah, Keisha was always.
she was my road dog, and I was like, I think I love him too. I think I like him too. You know, I think like we say, I like him a lot.
I like him a lot.
I came back, and shortly after, we decided we was gonna live together.
Yeah.
We decided we were gonna live together, but right before that, because we were having premarital intercourse, and I found out
Intercourse.
I literally say, I'm trying to be.
You can say sex. You can say sex until we grown.
Sex. Okay, yeah.
Ain't a cuss word.
Lord.
Roy shaking his head like. All the kids talking about we can't even say the word sex.
Right.
Yeah. You know, they be segs on Instagram.
They put segs on Instagram.
So,
why they do that?
Yeah, and so I found out that I was also he had already asked me to move with him, to move together. And I knew that was going to be hard because my mom and my dad, because I had parents that I could live with them as long as I want to.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I was like, okay, I want to move with him. But then right before that, I found out that I was pregnant at the same time. And so when I told my parents, hey, I'm going to move, they were not happy with that. You know, Roy kind of became the enemy a little bit. Like, you know, what he need to, what he say, what did my mama say? What they say? She always say, he gonna make an honest woman out of you.
Honest woman.
When he gonna make an honest woman out of you.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even him, it was me. I did not want to be.
You didn't want to be married?
I did not, I was not, even though I loved him and I was moving in with him and I wanted to be with him, marriage was still not something that I wanted to solidify.
And I'm glad you said that, because a lot of times they put it on the man. They don't believe that women. I meet so many women who've been like, they'll be dating a good guy and the guy been trying to marry them. They be like, nah, I ain't ready.
You hear women say that I've turned down. I've had like 8 proposals and I've said no.
Exactly.
And it was just one of those things like, I don't want to go into something and I'm not prepared. I'm not prepared, even being pregnant. You know, and that's even going above and, you know, like even beyond marriage. Like, it was just like, it's not something I want to do. But I respected that he was patient with me. And so I told my parents this is what I was going to do. And I'm grown. So, you know, all they could do is to tell me and hope that I do, I do better. And we lived together, and then I ended up pregnant again and not married. And then that was the point to where he decided, like, it was kind of like, hey, we're gonna do this the right way. We've been living together. So
at that time, you were living, what, 3 years?
Yeah. So 3. Yeah, almost 4.
Yeah. They're 3 years apart.
They're 3 years apart. And so we doing this, we're gonna do it right. We doing everything else like we're married. And we decided to just go to the courthouse. And then we didn't have a traditional wedding. It was just kind of like what is it? I just want to be married. You know,
meet me at the altar in your white dress.
But no, it was a love story. It was a love story. It wasn't a traditional love story, but we are still here.
Yeah,
we are still here. And when we got married, nothing changed. Nothing changed. The love just grew, and it was one of the best decisions that I made with him.
So let's go back to that young girl. So at this age, you're what, 25?
At the time when I got married, I was at 25. Now, you know, I'm at that age now.
Know,
we start getting calculator out and stuff. 1978 minus 2020.
So let's say you're about 25 years
that's
old.
that's why it's good to get them questions before, so you be like, okay, he asked me this. I know this date. I know that
questions. I said, we don't do questions here.
Because I know you start asking numbers and dates, and I'm like, oh, Lord. Barely remember my birthday. Listen. So roughly around 25 years about
old.
25. About 25.
In your mindset, why do you think you didn't desire marriage? You got your parents pushing you. Your parents are like, don't even live together. You defied what they said, did it again, moved in with somebody. This time it's amplified because now you have a child, you're pregnant with child, then do it again. What was so adverse about marriage, if you could think back, that made you not want to solidify your love? You know when you say your parents can tell you one thing and then it goes out the other, and it kind of was just like doing the opposite of what they were telling me to do. And then it was like, you know, my mom used to always say, she used to be like, yeah, your daddy is the only man I've been with. I've been with your daddy this many years. Y'all be with 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. I could never. And so I was that's 10 for you. She's gonna tell you real. She's gonna tell you. Like the rub in your face. She's gonna tell you. She's gonna tell you. And basically, she said you need to be with one person. Yeah. But then in my mind, I'm like, do I want to be with somebody 40 years? Do I want to be, or do I just want to, have fun? Do I really want to have fun and live my life and see the world? And do I really want to settle down? Right. And so it was just one of those things. Like, it wasn't, there weren't marriages in my family. Like, my dad has 10 sisters, 10 sisters and one brother. And outside my uncle, all my aunts were married. Still married to outside the ones that are deceased. Even on my mom's side, all 10 of them were. All 10 of them. Saw marriage. I saw marriage. I saw my grandparents, my great grandparents. It was right in my face. But it was just one of those things. Like, I'm just gonna go rogue. Right. See for myself. I'm gonna do the opposite and see what happens. Right. And it was kind of like, that's just one of those things. Like, I just was just wanted to, I just wanted to do other things, and like I said, it was a lot of the enemy. It was a lot of just not being focused on the right thing and being so focused on so many wrong things, knowing that, I was raised in a church, even from my grandmother, I knew the right thing to do, but I just wanted it to be right when I wanted it to be right. Let me ask you this. What were you doing from a career standpoint at that age? At that age, what was I at Neiman Marcus? I was working, so I was like, Neiman's, I was at Neiman's, and I was going back and forth in between school. So I was in school and I was working. I was waitressing, and he stopped me from doing that. I was waitressing and working 2 jobs. So I actually transferred from Great West Life Insurance, and then I started working for Fidelity Investments. And so I was working for Fidelity Investments as an auditor. And then I got laid off. And so then once I got laid off, I was kind of just in between jobs, but I knew that I had goals and I knew what I wanted to do. And so I didn't want to be, maybe I'll say it this way, like, I seen my mom married, right? And my dad is an amazing father, amazing husband. I was affirmed. We didn't want for nothing. I had amazing, parents growing up. But I do know that my mom was a housewife, but she also worked. And so I know there were a lot of dreams and a lot of things and ambitions that she had that she didn't live out. And
in my mind, I was like, maybe it's because, if she's married and she got to focus on this, she didn't have, but if she wasn't married, she'd be able to do this, she'd be able to do that. And, all the decisions were made between her and my dad. And I'm like, I don't need anybody telling me what to do, telling me how I can live. I love my, because even as my dad being married to my mom, my dad always taught me about being independent. Like, you make sure you have your own bank account. You move, even when I moved out and I shacked the first time, he said, don't put that man on your lease. Don't put him on your lease, because you want to put him out. Okay. So he taught me all the things. Like, even when I left the guy, he's like, don't tell him you leave, and just pack your stuff and leave, because he get you in the corner. Yeah. He gonna talk you out of it. Yeah. I want you to just be able to go, and I value that. I value that, and I think it was a sense of wanting my independence and thinking like, okay, now, I'm one, we're kind of two, but I just wanted to be able to make my own decisions, which even now, nothing changed. Like, I'm still able to make my own decisions. And
do your own thing.
Do my own thing. He doesn't, he might ask questions, but he rarely says no. He lets me live out my dreams, and that's what I respect.
Even when you went to the Super Bowl, Roy, was you insecure about that?
No.
So you wasn't the type of guy to be like, oh, she finna go on the trip with her homegirls, she finna go meet some dudes, finna get phone numbers. You was never like a jealous guy?
No, because I knew I met her parents. And at this point, her parents have been married 30 years at this point. And I met her grandpa, and I met her great-grandpa, and her great-grandma. Her great-grandma and great-grandpa were still together, 90-some years old, right?
So how did that give you security?
Well, because I know her roots. So the thing about women is that they sprout from their past, right? Most women that grow up in chaos and secret, they are chaotic women. But when women come from stability of marriage and family, still to this day, her family reunion is probably the biggest family reunion I've ever been to in my life. Like, they all go back to East Texas. So when you see things like that, they're about family, they're about commitment. She has never missed one of her family reunions at this age.
42 years, I've never missed one.
Really?
No, I missed one, and that was when I missed one.
But that was recently.
And that was when I was pregnant with Naira. That was my first one.
But other than
when the old folks try to hide the pregnancy, they don't want people to know you're pregnant. So I couldn't go that time.
And so I met
try to hide it.
Even the
pop back with a whole kid next year.
The first family reunion I went down to, all those aunts she was telling me about.
Yeah,
I talked to all of them. They all sized me up, right? So I already knew what I was getting into, because the aunts, the cousins, the uncles, the grandpa, so I already knew who she was.
But Roy, she's been the opposite of everything that she's been shown. So why didn't that bring fear in you? Like, hold on, now she sees all this. She sees her dad is like, don't go live with another dude. She's doing that. She's not trying to quote unquote marry you. Why, when you look at her as being the damage case, to be like, okay, she ain't listening to none of that. You said what?
Because I knew that wasn't really her.
Yeah. And I was doing all the things. Like I was doing all the things, but I was in my mind saying opposite. So I was playing wife. I was doing wifely things. I was doing what I learned, from my mother and my aunties. I just did not want to sign. Yeah, like I didn't want to sign a piece of paper. Like I didn't want to do vows and feel like I was,
signing your life away.
Signing my life away. And not even signing my life away. It's just it was almost like a control type thing. Like that's what was in my mind.
You didn't want to lose control?
I didn't want to lose control.
Yeah.
And I felt like us becoming a unit in some way or another, the enemy talking, is that I was going to lose control in some type of way.
Yeah.
But he never did anything to show me that I would lose in control.
I knew that.
He do the opposite.
Yeah, he do the opposite.
Because I came from chaos as a child, right?
Yeah.
So I've seen chaos at its worst So I knew what that looked like.
Elaborate on that.
I didn't talk on it.
I didn't come from
This is good.
a married household. You know, my mom and daddy didn't live together, right? So I didn't come from having dinner waiting for me. I came from extreme poverty. Like she said, she didn't want for nothing as a child.
Yeah.
I wanted for everything. I just wanted food, clothes.
Yeah.
I didn't have, choices, and most days I didn't have running water or electricity. So I didn't come from that world where she came from. So me having to see the things that I saw as a young child, but then to go to something different when I went to Denver, gave me both sides. I got to see both sides of it. So I could tell when people were playing and thinking they wanted that. You don't really want that chaos. You might think Billy
Teach.
Badass. You don't really want that chaos in your life.
Teach.
So if you sit back long enough and go ahead, do your thing. And you just got to sit there and wait.
Yeah.
Because you ain't going to want to be in that chaos long.
That's
because
real.
over here, all I had to do was do what a man's supposed to do. I'm building. I'm
There it
over here
is.
building for the future.
There it is.
Sooner or later, you're going to come out that rain and get in this shelter. You know what I mean? Sooner or later. And so if you do what you're supposed to do as a man.
That's good.
And, you build for your family. Because at this point, where you going to go? You got 3 kids. You're 25, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I ain't had to worry about
You
that.
ain't intimidated about that.
Go ahead and do what you got to do.
Yeah.
But when you do get your head right,
I'm right here.
we gonna be set.
Yeah.
And so that was my focus. I was focused on doing what a man needed to do because, like I said, I saw both sides of it.
When y'all got married, she brought 1 kid to the marriage, and then how many did you bring to the marriage?
I brought 4.
You brought 4 kids. So you had, how old were you when you had your first child?
I was 23, 24.
23, 24 years old.
Yeah.
And so you had 4 kids. What did you think about him having 4 kids?
Well, so here's the thing. I have a child, right? And so I didn't have any discrepancies with a man having children as long as he was taking care of his children.
Yep.
And also, I wanted a man who would be familiar with parenting and know how to be around children,
Yep.
right? And so being that he had young children and I had young children, it was perfect. It was perfect. So I didn't have any, discrepancies or any concerns other than him, taking care of his children, but also he didn't have any turmoil with the mothers. Like I never heard him, he never talked bad about him. He never said anything negative. They had their differences. And that was one of the things we missed out. That's how he was introduced to my daughter Naira, because remember we were dating, but Naira wasn't coming around. Naira kind of just like he's always say, Naira would be opening the door for me when he dropped me off. She'd always be looking out the window and she'd open me door. Right. He's like, "What, the little girl ain't sleep?" She waiting for her mama. And so one day he asked me. He said, "Hey, do you want to go out of town for a few days? And do you want to you can bring your daughter?" And I was kind of like, I don't know about that. And even my mom is like, you got to be careful bringing your child around a man. And I was always very careful about that. And so my mom and my dad was like, I think it'll be all right. And so I not knowing is when I brought Naira out with my bags, his daughter was in the back seat asleep. She was so that was the first introduction.
How old was she?
She was 6.
She was 6.
My daughter. Well, she was 5 and Naira was 3. So now they were getting ready to be 4 and 6. Yeah. And that was their first introduction, and that was my first introduction to his daughter. And so
that's dope.
He took us on a road trip to Chicago. He took us
from Dallas to
Chicago.
Yeah.
He's like, "Have you ever been to Chicago?" And we went on a road trip, and I got to know him, and I got to know Ashiana, and that was the first time Naira said. So Ashiana kept saying, "Daddy, Daddy this, Daddy that, Daddy, can you do this? Daddy, can you do that?" And Naira started saying, "Daddy, can you do this?" So I was like, "Oh."
He was like, stop that.
Yeah, right. That's exactly what I did. I was like, no, please. Stop now.
And Roy over there eating it up.
You see how that works? That's another hurdle.
Yeah.
So she was like, and so
got the daughter.
So she said,
got the daughter.
She said, Mama, I want to call. She said, Mama, I want to call him. Can I call him Daddy? And he didn't allow me to answer. He said, you can call me whatever you like to call me, baby. Whatever you want to call me, you can call me. I'm okay with that. And I didn't say nothing, but in my mind, I was like, girl, Naira, why you do that? Why you do that? Nah, what are you going to be thinking?
He said, because I'm here to stay.
I'm here to stay.
Yeah.
And that was the first introduction. And I got to see how he parents and how much his daughter loved him and how much he took care of her. And when I met I didn't actually meet her mother. I talked to her on the phone. And her mother was getting ready to. She was married, and her husband was in the military, and they were going to Hawaii for in the Navy, and Ashiana was coming to stay with us. She asked if Ashiana could come stay with us. But when I talked to her, from the moment I talked to her, she was like, "You parent Ashiana just like Ashiana is your child. Don't let Ashiana disrespect you. Don't let Ashiana." She talked to me.
She gave you that authority.
She gave me the authority, and I knew what type of relationship they had.
Yeah.
There was no what they call baby mama drama.
Yeah.
She had her own life, and he had his own life, and they both were okay with it.
Good.
And yeah, and so.
So what made you take them to Chicago? You had family down there, or did you just pick the place on the map? Said let's go.
I just picked a place on the map. I said, let's go.
To Chicago.
I hadn't been to Chicago in 20 years, probably.
How long was that drive?
At that time, it was like 15 hours. But you got to remember, Chicago was the end. It was a road trip.
Yeah.
So we stopped in Memphis. We stopped in St. Louis and went to the Arch.
You went to the Arch, yeah.
Y'all went on a family vacation.
Yeah, we went up to Milwaukee.
Yep.
To the outlets and shopped, and then came back to Chicago, and then came on back.
And places I had never been before. So I had never been to any of those places. So it was also an experience for me because now he's taking me out of my comfort zone. He's taking me out of my element. He's showing me things that I haven't seen before. You know, even though I went on road trips as a kid, I'd never been to Chicago. I'd never been that far up north. So it was definitely an experience.
The possibility.
Well, Roy, let me tell you something. I have to salute you because I'm glad that you had pure intentions. Because there's a lot of women that got jacked up by men doing everything that you did. It's called love bombing. They'll do all those great grand gestures and they don't have nothing for that woman.
That's why I was torn.
Yeah, be messed up. I mean, think about it. Introduce you to the kid, take you on a trip, take you around your family. She brings you around her family, and you know from the start, I ain't got no good intentions with this woman. I don't want to be with this woman. I'm gonna tell this little girl to call me anything she wants to call me, whatever she's comfortable with. So I ain't gonna be around by next year. That just be cruel.
But let me ask you this: you don't think the woman knew that?
Why you say that, Roy? Why you say that, Roy?
Oh Lord!
It's a process. We keep saying everything is methodical. It's a process. It's steps. At one of them steps we done discussed, that woman knew he ain't about nothing.
Or even like people see it because even like my daughter's father, he love bombed me. I had a baby, everything, but my daddy from the beginning was like,
and you just wasn't listening.
He already got me caught up.
Yeah. So
I was already caught up and already thought I was in love and this is my first and all this stuff. And and my mama was just kind of the same. Like, you know, my mom always believed the more you tell them no, the more they're going to go the other way. So my mom kind of just was like, I'm just going to stay out of it. I'm going to let her learn. But my dad was always adamant. And I remember when I told him, my dad broke my first relationship up. We didn't have like a relationship where it was like he broke up with me. My dad, he came over one day. my dad wasn't happy with the situation. I had already had my daughter, and I remember he had a girl in the car with him, but he tried to park around on the other side, and my dad saw the girl in the car. And so at that time, I had never been cheated on. I had never known. I hadn't had anybody cheating on me. And I remember my dad was like, I heard a whole bunch of, confusion outside and a whole bunch of yelling. And I saw my daughter come in. And so that when I saw my daughter come in, because he had my daughter, I knew he was out there. But I was like, why? Why is the cussing and stuff? And so my dad's like, how dare you? I heard my dad say, how dare you show up to my house with a woman? And when I heard woman, I immediately started crying. I remember just crying. And my dad came in the house and he said, cry all you want to tonight. Woo. But it ends in the morning. It ends in the morning. Don't ever let a man tell you he don't want you more than once.
Woo. God.
And that was the end.
That's fatherhood right there, ain't it? Oh, that's fatherhood.
That was the end. There was no, I call him, we try to make it up. My dad, he can't come over here. You can't see him. That's final.
You respected that.
I respected that. When my dad said, never let a man tell you he don't want you more than once, that is something that never left my spirit. That never left my spirit. And he said, Naira will always be taken care. If he don't ever do nothing for her in his life, he won't have to worry. She won't never have to worry again. And I respected that because I respected my dad.
What's your dad's name?
Jackie Ray Session.
Jackie Ray Session. Boy, shout out to you, boy. I love it when fathers stand up. Boy, that right there be blessing my soul, boy. I love it when a father...
He don't play about me and my sister.
But you hit the nail on the head, Roy. You was talking about look at every step. That if someone looks at every step and they see where there's tension, nobody in their family like you, but you like, I don't care, I love them. Like, no, you blind.
Everybody done told you. Your best friend, your homegirl.
Somebody done told you. Somebody got the discernment.
He hanging out with you, hitting on your cousins. You still, he was just playing. You done seen every sign there is.
Would you say, Roy, he was just playing?
He was just playing. You done gave him every excuse in the world.
Stop.
You know what I'm saying? So a lot of it, some women, they young, they green, they don't know.
Yeah.
But for a lot of women,
and everybody don't have the guidance. Like everybody don't have my dad. Some people do. Some people do have my dad and still don't.
Yeah.
Still don't listen.
Or they have a friend.
Or they have a friend, but there's some discernment there. There's somebody who at some point in time said, hey, like, he giving me questionable vibes.
Yeah.
Right? I don't think he's the one for you.
There's always a sign.
It's always a sign.
I believe.
Yeah.
As a man,
when they show you who you are,
I think I see this a lot, especially on the internet, social media nowadays. I see a lot of women saying what a man gonna do, what a man think, and you just can't do that. If a man tell you what a man, you're not a man. So if a man tell you something, that's what a man thinks. That's what a man ain't no. Well, I don't know. You can't speak for no man as a woman. This man done told you exactly what it is, and you I know him. I know him very good.
Right. I've had conversations with him like they're like, so you gonna tell me how, man? And I have other homeboys. It's not like I'm basing it on just my own thought. I'm talking about as a man and also been around men who are more honest with each other than they will ever be with you. So how you just think I'm just gonna lead you astray?
Yeah, that's my dad. That was my daddy. My daddy taught me the lion and the gazelle. A long time, the lion and the gazelle. He said how the lion works. You see a pack of gazelles. The man that is out to hunt, the lion goes for the weakest link. Yep. You always see the gazelle, and there is always one gazelle that'll veer off to the left. The other ones will stay in the pack. They'll stay in the pack, but that one that decides not to stay in the pack, that's the one the lion starts to hunt down, and finally he takes down and devours. My dad always told me that. My dad always told us lessons. Like, he told me everything about a man. And I think probably a lot of that was instilled in me too, that made me scared. Even when he told me, like, if a man tells you, so I'm like, ain't nobody gonna tell me twice.
Right.
So now you scared of the truth?
Yeah, right.
The man telling you the truth, you're like, I don't trust you either.
Just like he said. It's one of those things. You live and you learn. But I'm grateful. I'm grateful for that. And that's, what I, try to do my best to instill in my daughters. They don't always listen, but we do our best to give them a healthy foundation so they know.
Yeah.
And Roy, you said you had to check some boys along the way as it came with your daughter.
Oh yeah. you know, the thing is,
why you flinching right now? It was hard. It was
listen, because not to even because I love my daughters, but there have been times like when my daughter showed up and he has been more optimistic, but he has learned that my spirit is very discerning, and I don't get it wrong. And when I was like, I don't like it. And my husband was like, give it a chance, please. You ain't even, and I was just like, I'm like, he may be good for someone else, but I don't believe he's good for my daughter. And I was right.
At one point, Roy, did you think she was just being too picky?
I just think that women have a certain perspective and a certain mindset because it's women dealing with women, right? And so the way they view things, it's just coming from their perspective. I respect that. But,
was she right, though?
In today's world.
It didn't work out, right?
Yeah, she was right. She was right. Where you
I need you to say she was right.
We on camera. We ain't got to do all that.
She is right.
He said, women have a way of looking at things.
But here's the thing.
That's how marriages last so long, because we have selective hearing. That's one of the things. Selective hearing will say
but I've told my kids, especially my girls, and this is why, the world is different now. But this is why, because of how we've been and because of how we've grown up and been along, I told each one of my girls, and that, especially in that particular situation she talked about, when it got to the point, so when we have different approaches to things, obviously, right?
Yeah.
So when she get mad, it's a different. But when I get mad, it's a mad. It's a different kind of mad.
Uh-huh.
And so when I got to the point when I got mad, I told my daughter, I said, look, I took her outside. I said, look, if he don't have his SHIT together,
yep,
I'm coming back up here next week with a U-Haul. I'm packing your stuff, and we getting up out of it, and we not going to talk about it, right? So that's the kind of relationship I have with our kids.
You said once it gets to that point,
when I say
ain't no negotiation.
You know what I mean? And that's the thing you have to do. Like, even when she, how she said, she do what she want to do, but when it's time to fix something, you still got to be a father. You still got to be a husband. You still got to be.
You have to be more than just a protector and a provider.
And they're gonna respect that word if you raise them right.
Yeah,
they're gonna respect that because then they know.
Yeah,
you got to be forceful with them. So that's how. And I'm not worried about it because I know that no matter what situation my kids get in, I'm gonna be able to get most of them. As long as it ain't no FBI stuff, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But emotional relationship stuff, I built myself in a way to where I'll always be able to protect my kids. So no matter what your situation is, you got a baby, you got to, okay, don't worry about it. You come back to the house. We're going to work it out. Don't ever let it, don't ever worry about that. So I give them a little more leadway because I know I'm able to fix most things.
Would you be the same way with your son?
She's not. I am. I don't even bother him in most cases.
I'm talking about, say he 27 years old, he having kids by different women or whatever. Would you like, you can come here, we'll take care of you?
No. I will help you get an apartment. Give you a couple of dollars, get you some Pampers, and hold you down for maybe a month. No, you never. Because it's different for me.
Yeah, because you have to let that man understand what
you got to deal with the world. Man.
Yes.
Because if I do that, then you're just gonna be a little boy.
You're gonna be a sorry. You ain't good for nobody.
Right.
And that's and that would be a failure on my part.
Absolutely.
If my son went out there and did all that, that's a reflection of me.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing I think women miss the most about men. Mm-hmm. They get the biggest misconception women have about men. A grown man is a very simple creature.
Yep.
A little boy is way more complicated than a grown man. And that's how you can easily tell. If this man is complicated, got chaos, got issues, he always into something, he's still a little kid.
Yeah.
If he ain't got nothing going on, he just sitting at the house on the couch, peaceful, ain't got nothing, that man got his life together.
And then some women say, that's boring.
Yeah, it is boring.
It's boring.
Yeah, that is boring. Is good. But he got his life together.
Yeah.
That's what you want.
Boring to keep you out of visitation to him in jail.
Right.
And that's it's very simple.
And so he said that you're different when it applies to the boy. What is that like?
Oh, Addison, of course, he's the baby.
Yeah,
he's the baby. He's the only boy, and I'm the mama. But I do know that I am essentially raising Addison to be a father and a husband. And so as he is traditional when it comes to raising him as a man, I also want Addison to be able to be a nurturer, outside of protector and provider. So when something does happen, he's able to take care of his wife, especially like in our situation. If your wife ever has to lose her independence or anything like that, I want you to be able to go above and beyond that, and be able to be there for her, not only emotionally, but mentally, and be able to hold up with that. So when I'm dealing with Addison, I'm more dealing with him on a nurturing side. Roy's going to be daddy. He's going to be daddy, and I let him be daddy. I let him be the man that he's supposed to be when you're raising a son. But I want him to also be nurturing, emotional, being able to open and have conversations with his wife, not being able to hide things. And that's one thing about Addison. He would come and tell me anything. You'd be surprised with some of the stuff that Addison has shared with me. But I am so happy that he will share that with me, that he's that comfortable with sharing.
And what's so great about that, and I'm telling you this as a man, that if he can find safety talking to a woman, it makes him more emotionally intelligent when he meets the woman he's supposed to share his life with, because he wouldn't be so guarded. He'd be like, I can talk to my mom about anything. I'm going to talk to you about it.
And he has 6 sisters.
See,
he has 6 sisters. And so a lot of stuff that he doesn't share with me, he will share with his sisters. So sometimes I'll say something and my daughter be like, well, mama, that ain't, you receiving it. You receiving it the wrong way. Let me tell you, that's not how you receiving it the wrong way. And so I'm like, oh, okay, well, tell me, you know more, so I'll know how to handle this situation when I sit down. So yeah.
That's good. We take vows through sickness and in health.
Yeah.
Y'all were challenged with those vows on both sides. When was your first challenge? What year? I know you say years are hard for you, but this ain't that long ago.
This was the year of 3. I call it 3. The year of 3, 2017, 18, and 19. I'll say going back, 2012, I started having some health issues. I was someone, like when he met me, I was, healthy, exercising, running, doing all the things. And one day I was on a treadmill and I started feeling fluttering in my chest that I had never felt before. And so that started my health journey. I went to a cardiologist. They diagnosed me with exercise-induced arrhythmia, which basically means like when I'm exercising and my heart elevates, my blood pressure does too, causing this fluttering in my chest. But I went 8 more years, so 7.5 more years being misdiagnosed with symptoms of shortness of breath, nausea and vomiting, chest pain. I'm in and out of the hospital, going back and forth to the emergency room while he's with me. He's going back and forth, and we can't figure out what's going on because everybody is saying nothing is going on. It's stress. It's all in her head. She's losing weight. She needs to lose weight. It's like all these things, and which was very stressful for both of us because we're both working individuals. I'm working, he's working. And he's running back and forth to the hospital. I'm missing work. And in 2017, we are going to make a donation out here in Cedar Hill. And we're coming back from that delivery. I open the truck door, as he said, and I just fall out. Like I'm trying to get out and I just fall out and hit the ground. He calls the ambulance. He calls the ambulance, and I'm wearing this patch on my arm, and this was my first major misdiagnosis. I had a TIA that day, but they related
it. What TIA stand for?
Don't start asking me to pronounce.
I don't know what the TIA is.
It's like a mini stroke.
It's a mini stroke. Okay. You was asking me the other condition. Listen,
the ABC.
I got my cognitive deficiency. Don't have me twisting no words. I did say I had a stroke, didn't I? Listen, that's why I said I had media training. They say I can no longer answer any more questions without my attorney present. Okay,
and my healthcare professional.
Without my doctor here to pronounce the words for me.
I can't answer that. HIPAA law.
Yeah, HIPAA law, right.
Start throwing up laws.
But yeah, it was a TIA, a mini stroke, and so I wasn't given any medication. I just kind of was basically told that, hey, these are the adjustments that you need to make in your life. I was working for the IRS at the time. And anytime anybody here, you work for the IRS, they automatically assume that you stress. No, I don't owe taxes. I uphold the laws. In order for me to work at the IRS, I can't owe taxes.
Can't owe taxes,
I have to pass a security clearance.
So do.
I don't have no stress, okay? But that's what people automatically assume, right? Yeah. And so that was the first thing the doctor said. You know, you need to quit your job. You need to find. And I tried to do all the things. I tried to get reasonable accommodations, but there was nothing changing in my health outcomes by doing that. So the next thing you know, about, I think, 8 or 9 months later, for about 2 weeks, I'm extremely tired. I'm sluggish. I have nausea. I have shoulder pain. I think I'm coming down with the flu.
Right.
He had been taking me back and forth to the hospital. And the day that I had come home, he retired from the Federal Aviation Administration. And so he has this type of schedule where, when he goes to work, it's not like, if something happens to me, he can automatically, it's almost like an air traffic control. You can't just walk away and there's a plane in the sky. So he has that type of job. And so he was like, hey, do you need me to take you to the emergency room? Do you want to go? How are you feeling? I was like, no, I'm good. And he's like, well, if I go to work, I can't leave immediately. And so I was absolutely okay with that. My oldest daughter was actually upstairs from college. And so he went ahead and went to work. And I had come home early that day. And I was working on my computer. I was in the office finishing case files. And so I would call him my soulmate. He was on his way. He had gotten to work and he had texted me. He had called. I didn't answer because I was on the phone with somebody. And then he texted me. He said, are you okay? And I said, I'm fine. I'm still feeling the same. But if I feel bad, I'll go to the hospital. And in that moment, he called my daughter. And he said, I need you to take your mama to the hospital.
So, Roy, what happened?
So
she's saying she's fine. What would make you overreact, quote unquote? Of course, we know it's spiritual discernment, but I'm saying what would make you overreact like that?
So you remember an hour earlier when she said, I like to go against the grain and do stuff my way. Yeah. So that's basically that's a hard head, right?
Yeah.
So she had gotten to the point. So when she's saying we going back and forth to the hospital, like we going to the hospital a couple times a month. It ain't just your random, me in particular, I went to the hospital once every 4-5 years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The average person.
Yeah.
No, we going to the hospital a couple times a month for something. So you get to the point where you recognize the signs, you know what's happening. And then having her to go so much, and you sit in the emergency room and you ain't getting no help really. People poking and prodding on you, sticking needles in your IVs and all that. Well, you get to the point where you don't want to go.
Yeah, it's a waste of time.
I just rather sit here and be in pain, and I don't want to go. But you just remember she'd had that TIA not too long ago. So it's gotten to the point now where it's a little bit more serious. It was serious before, but it's a little bit more serious. But you just have to be able to read. Because normally when I go to work, I don't call back right away and be like, so, you're calling twice. It's the same as the I love you.
Yep.
You throwing it out there because you want to get that response.
Absolutely.
And that response is going to tell you what your next play is.
Yeah.
And so I knew my next play was like, okay, let me get out the phone with you.
Call your daughter.
Call my daughter. Go ahead and take mama to the hospital. Because she ain't gonna tell me.
Yeah.
You just know your partner.
So your soulmate, what happened?
So basically he had told my daughter, and my daughter was under the assumption that I knew that I was supposed to go to the doctor. So she thought the conversation had been had between us that I was going to the hospital. So when she came in, I was still at the desk typing. And so she opened the door and she said, Mama, are you ready? And I was like, what you mean ready? And she's like, ready. And the minute before she said to tell me what she was going to tell me, I got a sharp pain that went right down my jaw, down the left side of my shoulder. And so I was like, okay, like, what are we doing? And she was like, I'm going to take you to the hospital. And I just got up and followed her and got in the car. And so as we were going, the hospital wasn't that far away, maybe about eight minutes. We're in the car, and I start feeling this like light pressure. It doesn't hurt. It's just like a light little pain that's just coming for a few seconds, and it's going away the entire way. So when we get to the hospital, she said, "Do you want me to park, or do you want me to drop you off in the front?" And I said, "Oh, you drop me off in the front." And so when I get out, before I even get through the door, I start vomiting on myself. And this is where you learn your body is basically, this is the last resort. Your body is telling you it's getting ready to shut down. And so I started vomiting. What's so interesting, I came in, and this is just really key. And when you're going to the doctor and telling them what's wrong with you, because this 2 weeks that I was sick, I was thinking I was coming down with flu. I was coming down with the flu. So I kept telling myself, "Oh, I'm coming down with the flu. I'm coming down with something." So when I went there and they signed me in, they said, "What's going on?" I said, "I'm having chest pain, but I think I'm coming down with the flu. I think I have a flu." So that's what the doctors are going to, they write down flu-like symptoms. So when they take me back, they do an EKG immediately because I do have the chest pain, but the EKG is not detecting any, issues with my heart. So they put a wristband on me and they put me back in the waiting room. So by this time, my daughter's sitting next to me, and I'm kind of like leaning, and then all of a sudden I felt like this tight pressure. Like it just felt like somebody was stepping, like I was down on the ground and somebody was just holding me down. And I said, "I feel like somebody's stepping on my chest." And the triage nurse heard me say that. And so she came and she said, "What is going on?" I said, "I feel like there's like somebody stepping on my chest." And so they immediately took me back. I remember they gave me a beta blocker. They gave me a shot. They, gave me a nitrate. They did all these things. But I, in my mind, don't have any inclination of what's going on. Like, I'm just like, okay, they give me back. I got, chest pain. And I was having this condition called pleurisy. So it's like an infection of the lungs. So a lot of times I was going to the doctor, they say you have an infection of the lungs. So I kind of thought that's what was going on. And so they get me back, and they take take blood, and they put my blood pressure cuff up and hook me up. And my daughter notices that the heart monitor my heart starts just going high really fast. And so my daughter was like, "Oh my God." And she's like, "Oh my God, Mama, your heart rate, calm down." Cause I'm like panicking, like, what's going on? And, I'm just doing all the things. And by the time the nurse got back, my heart rate had went back down. And so my daughter had described what had just happened. And so the nurse said, "Well, we just gave her some medication that could probably do that. And she's a little anxious. So that's probably why the heart monitor went like the heart rate went up like that." And so the ER doctor comes in, and at this time he's very jovial. He's smiling. He's talking to me. He's having a conversation. He's like, "We just did your blood work." He said, once we get the blood work, back, we do some x-rays, we'll determine, what's going on. So I never got to the point where I got to my x-rays. So maybe about 25 minutes later, that doctor comes back, and he's in a different mood now. He's in a total different mood. He's quiet. He's coming. He's listening to me. But this time he's got another doctor with him. And on his shirt, it says vascular. So I'm thinking like, oh, he's in training. He's getting ready to learn something today. This is a training opportunity. And he said, Miss Williams, can I ask you a question? I said, sure. He said, what took you so long to come here today? And I was like, what do you mean? He said, well, you said you've been having these symptoms for 2 weeks. What took you so long to come here today? I said, well, every time I come before, y'all always send me home and y'all tell me nothing's wrong. And so all I get is a copay. So I didn't feel like paying a copay today. Yeah. He said, well, when I tell you this, I want you to calm down. He says, you're having a heart attack. You're having a myocardial. He said heart. He didn't say heart attack. He said, you're having a myocardial infarction. And I was like, well, what is that? He's like, you're having a heart attack. And it was probably one of the scariest moments in my life because my daughter was right there. And all I could think is like, I told y'all something is wrong with me. And now, because you hear heart attack, all I thought was death. I was like, I'm getting ready to die. That's what this means. Right. And my daughter I looked at my daughter and she was just crying. And he called, right? It was just like clockwork. He called and my daughter put him on speakerphone. And he's thinking like it's one of these situations where ain't nothing wrong with her. They about to give her a prescription and send her home. And he said, first thing he says, because he calls me mama, he says, what's wrong with mama? What they say was wrong with mama? And Naira said, they said it's her heart. And he said, huh? And she said, they said Mama is having a heart attack. And I remember, like, he didn't even say anything else. Like, it was like nothing else. And I remember jokingly, because I'm joking, I said, so I get to stay this time? And the doctor said, yeah, you're not going home. Y'all keeping me? I get some breakfast in the morning.
The little juice and the little top you have to stick in.
The little ice with the ice. Ooh, that's like a slushy. Even a little slushy.
Thank you. What did you think, Roy, hearing that and you miles away?
It was actually one of those kind of like, it was like one of those, man, I knew it. I knew they'd been,
yep.
You know what I mean? It was one of them reckoning moments, so to speak. Because it was, she's in the hospital, so she's going to get her care.
Yep.
So she's in the best place to be.
Right.
But in your mind, you're like, man, they were playing with my wife. I knew it.
Yeah.
I knew they'd been, so you kind of feel, because you start to doubt yourself. And even me at times, I'd be looking at her like, we got to go back to the hospital. After, like she said, like, we got to go pay this copay for them to say nothing.
Yeah.
And right.
We're gonna get to you real quick. Because I want to unpack that real quick. So that was in 2017 for you?
That was 2018.
So that was 2018, and you said in threes. So was that the second time?
That was the second. That was the second incident.
And then the last incident was what?
That was the stroke. That was the stroke.
And you actually had a stroke at home or
at work.
At work.
At work.
At work.
At work. And what was really interesting about that is that I was just in ICU 2 weeks before that, getting an angiogram, right? And in that, during that situation, they did an angiogram and they had told me that really wasn't anything major with my heart. It was just like a leaky valve, but it wasn't anything that would be life-threatening. And this is like one of the first, outside of him advocating with me, this is the first time that I actually seen him advocate for me with the doctors, because a lot of times we just in the emergency room, we listen to the doctors. That's what the doctors say. And I remember they were like, okay, we're going to go ahead and discharge her. We'll discharge her tomorrow. And he was like, no, you will not. You will not discharge her. He was like, I need to know what's wrong with my wife. Her blood pressure is here. We're sitting here, her blood pressure is high. It was to the point where I thought that they were going to call the police on him. He was
so they're going to discharge you and the symptoms ain't changed?
After the anagram, after the cardio anagram, they were saying that there was because they were really trying to check to see if there was anything major going on with my heart, because I didn't have any heart damage after the heart attack. So this is about 7 months later after my heart attack.
7, 8 months.
About 7 months, and I'm still having different issues. So I'm still having different issues, and then that's when they finally discovered that I had a heart murmur. But there were still these things that they were saying that are not life threatening.
They're about to let you go again.
Yeah, they're not life threatening.
After all this,
so they were saying it's not life threatening. So he's arguing, he's talking to the doctor. He's like, you need to, check her grandpa has lupus, she got MS. Can you check for something? Y'all just please do not let my wife go home. And so it was divine intervention, because while he was having that conversation, my phone started going off, and I got the phone, and it's my first cousin, Yolanda. And she said, hey, your dad told me that you've been in and out in and out of the hospital, and you're having some cardiac issues. And she said, let me tell you something. She said, it wasn't a cardiologist that found out what was going on with me. It was a pulmonologist. So maybe if you ask your doctor to send you to a pulmonologist, maybe they can find something.
Oh, that's good.
And so I immediately gave the phone. I said, hey, I gave the phone to the doctor. He read it. They ended up keeping me 2 more days. So he has a pulmonologist come down. A pulmonologist comes, checks me. Now this time I'm a little overweight. I'm snoring. So they're like, oh, she might have sleep apnea, all these things. So he's like, we're going to come, everything looks good. They told me I had like 2 conditions that were very, like I said, they're not life threatening. So I was like, okay. But in my mind, I'm like, if I got 2 conditions in my heart, it just seems like my heart is working really hard, but I trust the doctor, right? This is a doctor. So this 2 weeks later, maybe a week and a half, 2 weeks later, I go to this pulmonologist, come in. he has me, breathe through a tube, and they're like, "Oh, I think you have asthma." So this is the first thing, you think you have asthma, and I'm like, "Well, nobody's ever told me I have asthma, but I got 2 kids that have, I had 2 kids who were on inhalers, so that's possible. Maybe I just been misdiagnosed all this time." So they come in. The doctor who was at the ICU, the pulmonologist, he comes in. And he's like, everything looked good. We're going to have you come in and do a sleep apnea test because we're worried about that. And he goes to start listening to me and check me. So he gets down to my legs and he says, "Ooh, your legs are swollen." I said, what does that mean? He said, "Well, it could be your heart." And I immediately said, "Well, I thought you said that my heart." He said, Yeah. I promise. He said, Yeah. I did say that. Let me give you some water. He said, "What I'm going to do is give you the prescription. I'm going to give you a prescription for some water pills.
He said water pills.
I'm going to give you a prescription for water pills, and we'll see when you come back next Thursday and do your sleep test, if the water has gone down on your legs." Monday was my follow-up. So this was a Thursday. The next Monday was my follow-up with the cardiologist. So I get with the cardiologist. He's saying the same thing. He's like, "Hey, you still got the exercise-induced arrhythmia." He says, "But everything looks good." I said, "What are the 2?" I mentioned the 2 conditions that he said. He said, "Where did you hear that from?" I said, "Well, after you left, a pulmonologist came and told me that." And he said, "Well," he explained what it was. He said it wasn't life-threatening like the pulmonologist said. He said, "But we can do an invasive or a non-invasive treatment to prevent that, what you're feeling. That's why you're feeling that flutter in your chest." So I was like, "Okay, I'll do the non-invasive."
Yeah.
So he scheduled it. I went home. I was so excited. This is April the 8th. I was so excited. I went on Facebook. I see this post every April 8th. I said, "Hey, y'all, I'm so excited." I said, "I want to meet everybody at the park tomorrow at 5, and we can start my walking group." Right? So everybody, all the girls who wasn't going to do it, think they're going to do it. Yeah. They all like, "Girl, we'll see you. So woke up the next morning. I decided I was going to go to work. I wasn't going to stay at home. Got all dressed up. He was going to the appraisal district to argue the taxes. And he was like, this is a true story. He's going down to argue the taxes. And we talked about what we're going to do at the end of the week. And he said that, if he's still down there, we would go to lunch. I go to work. I go talk to my manager. We're in the office laughing. I'm joking about, now I can get my case files. And now I'm back working. And my boss said that he heard me, because I got a loud, obnoxious laugh. So I'm laughing. I'm just silly. I'm silly in the office too. So I'm laughing. And he said that it sounded like I was laughing for about 5 minutes. And then he heard the laughing stop. And after he heard the laughing stop, he heard, "Help, help." And everybody thought it was Miss Arletha, because Miss Arletha be falling out her chair and stuff. So he said when they were saying help, help, they thought it was Miss Arletha. So he said, he getting up like,
falling out her chair and stuff.
Yeah. So he's like, dang, like, dog, like, I gotta pick her up. So he walks over, and that's when all my coworkers are standing around me, and he sees me and I'm unconscious on the floor.
That quick.
And then he gets a call. My phone happens to be unlocked. And so he gets a call from my manager from my phone. And my manager says, "Hey, this is Joe, and I'm with your wife." Now, what kind of call is you going to get? So I don't know what he was thinking on the other side.
This is Joe. I'm with your wife.
I'm with your wife.
Are you the guy from the movie You?
Joe
the TV
who?
series you on Netflix?
Joe who? Where you at, Joe?
Where you at, Joe? Tell where you at, Joe.
And that's when Joe proceeds, because I don't I know the story as it was told.
Yeah.
And then that's when he got the call, and he can pretty much take it from.
And so that one was the big issue, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how long were you in the hospital?
So it gets real interesting, right? So, they take me to the hospital, and I'm not communicating, right? I'm not communicating. And he did not know they couldn't tell him if I was dead or alive. They couldn't tell him anything.
Why not? Why?
So when I first got there, they just told me she was going to Baylor.
Yeah.
The ambulance was taking her to Baylor. And so when someone is unconscious, can't say who they don't know who she is, right? And so anybody just coming up there saying I'm so and so looking for so and so, well, we don't know who so-and-so is.
Yeah.
So they had to figure out first who she was, because she done left work, all her stuff at work, so she in an ambulance, they bring her, and, it's a process at the hospital. So I eventually get back there, but the problem is she doesn't know who I am. She done had a stroke, right? So she can't really communicate, who I am. So they're basically just taking my word on everything. Because
what happened to Joe? He couldn't tell.
Joe at work. There's at work. Joe the manager, so he got.
They was already trying to fill my position. They was already trying to fill my position.
Joe was at work. So they couldn't.
We bring that person in. I want to interview them tomorrow. Let me go
that's my dog. My boss is my dog.
Yeah. So it was just it was just chaos.
Yeah. So eventually, what happened is that they told him that I had they thought that I had MS. They thought I had MS and that I had a seizure, and the delay in me not being able to communicate, me not being able to stand and walk, was a result of the seizure.
Right.
So they sent me home. I think after like 18 or 19 hours, they sent me home, and he had to get me in a bed and all these things. Well, I was under the care of a neurologist because I was already having issues at work that they were recognizing, and they were like, hey, and my boss is like my advocate. So he's like, hey, I think you need to get this checked out. I just see some things going on that is not normal to you. And so he calls my neurologist, and she's the bomb. So she's like, okay, go ahead, bring her in. He said, I just brought her from the emergency room. They said she had MS. And so he brought me there. I don't remember, but he brought me there. And when Dr. Angela seen me, she automatically knew that I had a stroke. And so immediately I went into rehabilitation, inpatient rehabilitation, and was in that for the next almost 2 years.
Dang.
And more so because it affected me really bad cognitively. It affected me really cognitively. And so there was like a lot of delay there. And that retired me. It retired me. I never went back. I tried to, because there was a time that I was so, it was my job. I got my MBA. I did, I knew how I wanted my career and how I wanted my life to go, but God knew something more.
Absolutely.
And so there was a time where I had really convinced the doctors that I was okay, so I could go back to work. And even my manager was like, you don't have to go. It's good. You got leave, And I'm like, no, let me do some cases. I want to, and so I would work 1 or 2 hours. And so finally
that's called hard hit.
Hard hit.
It was a struggle.
Again, hard hit.
You ain't lying.
And
even the manager saying, you okay? She's like, no, I'm still posting.
Everybody's like, girl, like, it's not that, and I'm like, I got to prove I cannot lose this. I cannot lose my career. Like, this is, and even though my money was not a factor, my money has never been a factor in our home, I was like, I want my independence, because I had my daddy. You had your independence, you had your own money. Regardless of what he doing, you had your own money.
Yep.
And finally, I think I was falling and losing my balance, and he kind of got back to the doctor, was like, well, why? If she's okay, why would they release her? And that's when the doctor was like, she's not okay. She's pretending that she's okay. She's pretending, she's convinced herself that she's okay, and she's not. And so I went back to rehabilitation. And that
was a 2-year process.
That was a 2-year process.
And you good now?
Well, I'm always going to be a post-stroke patient, so I do still.
Head, no. What do you see, Roy?
It's honest.
She's 80%. I'm
80%. But, there's still a cognitive delay. There's still, I still have major brain fog, and now I'm going through perimenopause and all those things. But, I have neuropathy. I have arthritis really bad. I'm weak on my left side. So there's a lot of things that are going on. And that's the thing about, having a stroke or having any type of illness where it's not visibly seen. You're seeing healing on the outside, right? But people don't see you fighting on the inside, absolutely. Right? And so I'm great. I've come a long way, and a lot further than a lot of people come. And I'm grateful for that, but I'm just glad that I'm here, and God, seen the best of me to still be here. But Amen. there are those challenges that I have that I'm very transparent about. And like I said, when you say yesterday I was great, today I'm well, and tomorrow, I'm gonna be great too. I affirm and I speak that. But there are days that are not great for me, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Let me ask you this, because I want to get this in here before we wrap up, and real succinctly. You found out that you had prostate cancer. How, Roy? And what year was this?
It was last year. Just doing my normal 6-month physicals. I do a physical every 6 months. And so just going, I have the same primary doctor. And last year when I finished my physical, she said, I've been noticing that your PSA level is going up.
Yeah.
And your last 3 or 4 blood tests, it's remained above what it should be. And she's like, we need to talk about getting you checked. We need to talk about checking your prostate. And I said, well, you know what, whatever you want to do. She said, well, it's, up to you. She said, it's not at a level, to where she's like, I don't think it's cancer or anything, but I would suggest you do the biopsy, do all the tests, just to be sure. And we scheduled everything, but you schedule stuff with a hospital, it's 3-4 months out, especially any type of in-house surgery, which everything with a prostate is considered in-house surgery. And so during this time that I'm waiting, one of my good friends called me and said he had just had prostate surgery, and he didn't tell anybody. He kept it to himself. And he was like, hey, I just want to let you know, I had prostate surgery. This is what happened. And I was like, well, what made you check it? And he was telling me all that. And I wasn't having any of those symptoms. But just the fact that it was that close that made me want to go into. And so I called and I got everything moved up. I said, no, we need to do it quicker than that. We need to find out what's going on. And so I went in, did the screening. A couple weeks later, went in, did the biopsy. They tested it, sent me the results, and they said, yeah, we found a little corner pocket over here that is cancerous, right? And so that was around February of this year. And so now I have to go talk to a urologist and an oncologist, and there's another guy that's going to do all the surgeries and stuff. And so these are your options. A, B, C, or D, leave it alone. Surgery, radiation, or leave it alone, right? And so I said, okay, well, let me think about it. So I went and talked to Shanta, and these are my options. And so then I have to go see another doctor. Same conversation, they got to get you mentally right.
Yeah, prepare for all this.
So surgery, they cut everything out. And you pray and hope that you could have some sort of function afterwards. Radiation, pretty good chance that most things will come back normal, but you will have some issues. Or leave it alone and don't ever deal with it and hope it doesn't kill you before you're 90, 100 years old, right? So those are your choices. And so after talking to the doctors, I decided, I'll go the radiation route. And I had to do surgical implants, little seeds. They call them seeds. And this whole surgery process, it's one of the most humbling experiences of your life. As a man, it's a very humbling experience. And I had 25 radiation treatment every day. And so now the thing about it is, one thing I want to say that I don't think I've probably acknowledged during my whole process. Cancer at this time in my life was a gift and it was a blessing for me. And I say that because I'm fortunate enough to where I'm young enough to handle it physically and emotionally, but also I was in a financial situation to afford it.
Yeah.
cancer treatment is very expensive.
I heard.
And I saw a lot of people have to make choices of getting their treatment or paying their bills.
It's terrible.
You know, when I first started, one of my original medications, prescription, my copay was $1,600.
The copay?
My copay.
You gonna do that what, monthly?
Every 30 days.
So hold on, you have to pay $1,600 every 30 days.
$1,600 every 30 days for my meds. Until I got there.
You see how hard that is for a person who, you know, we should never be in a place where we have to decide whether we need to pay our bills and we need to live. You know, and that's why a lot of people don't go to the doctor.
Now, that was for my medication. My copay for my radiation treatments, I had a one-time payment of $2,400. Right. So you figure the first 90 days, you out $5,000.
$5,000 right at the top.
And I got to go every day. I still had a job. So I got to call in or convince these, you know what I'm saying?
So you would do what? You would work or?
No, I took off the whole time. I used up all my vacation time.
And sick time.
All my sick leave, everything. And I just stayed home for 3 months. Right.
Dang.
And so, but because I had me a good government job.
Good government job.
But imagine a regular person.
Or just anybody
who got a call in, or any, you got that kind of job.
Just imagine right now if you were working in the government.
Right now, I couldn't do it.
Couldn't do it at all.
Yeah.
They'd be ready to let you go.
You know what I mean? So,
God, dog.
I say that to say I'm twice fortunate because not only was I in a position to get the treatment, and now that I'm in remission, it was just. It's a tough thing. I really just think about all the people that I know can't deal with in America.
Absolutely. Let me ask y'all this real quick. Marriage. Knowing that y'all had each other to go through this with, what can you say was the value of having Roy beside you while you were going through these strokes, in and out of the doctor's office, having the spirit of discernment to be able to call your daughter, say, take your mama, she hard-headed, and to even have your wife, Shanta Q, been able to go through this. We talked about how, quote unquote, embarrassing it is for a man to, out of all cancers, a man will probably want throat cancer before prostate cancer.
Right.
You know, how did it feel for both of y'all to know that y'all had each other?
It was, I can't even gather the words to say, because I know this man loves me. And there was a time where I lost my total independence, and you can just get as visual as you can in your mind what I couldn't do for myself that he had to do. And statistics say that, in most cases, when a woman is terminally ill or sick, the husband leaves.
Yep.
And there was never a time that I thought that he would leave me. He was always there. He loved me. And, you think about when they say through sickness and health, and you think about finance, we've been through a lot. This is just a portion of our story. But to have someone that I felt loves me like Christ loves the church.
There it
is probably the best. Like, there's nothing we can't go through. There's nothing that we cannot go through. And so to be together and being able to, because there was a time where when I say, hey, you don't understand how it feels to have to face your own mortality, and several times, but to now have someone that can understand and we can see each other with not even having to speak what's going on. I can't even explain it, but I'm grateful. And it goes back to the story when I was in the hospital, sick, in the hospital, victim of a violent crime, when I asked God, don't give me what I want.
There it is.
Give me what I need, because everything I wanted could not take care of me like this man has taken care of me.
That's so good, Shanta Q.
And so when you speak and you ask God, he will give it within his will.
Yeah.
And that's what he did. And so I am grateful that we have each other. I'm grateful that we have these stories to share, and I wouldn't do it with anybody else.
Let me add this to it, which is powerful, and God spoke to me as you were saying this. Thank you, Holy Spirit. One of the biggest things that prohibited you or gave you cause to pause to get married was the fear of losing your independence. And here it was, the ultimate level of losing your independence was a health situation. And then the finances, you lost all that stuff that happened. Yeah. And now you're totally reliant on your husband. And you said something that I talk about a lot, that statistics show that most men leave their wives when they're facing a terminal illness. And I want you to speak to that, Roy. Why wasn't that even a thought for you?
Because from the very beginning, I asked for what I want. I got what I wanted. I said, I want a woman that I'm going to be with for the rest of my life, that I will love, she will love me, we'll take care of each other. And whatever faces us, we're going to face it together. And through the many trips to the hospitals, through the physical therapy, you know, she when she tells her story,
Shanta.
she softens it up a lot, because a lot of it is it's emotional for her.
Yeah.
Because you can easily say, I went to physical therapy for 2 years. Yeah, but
it was every day.
I had to pick you up and put you in the truck to go. You know, it was a everyday painful experience for her. Trying to get on the treadmill and walk. And then being the woman she was with her mindset of independence.
Yeah.
Your husband got to put you in the tub. Your husband got to help you off the toilet. Your husband got to help you get dressed, help you brush your teeth, help feed you, you know. So there was never, it wasn't a question of, Roy, why'd you stay with her? It never crossed my mind. I did what I was supposed to do for the woman that I love, and that I knew she would do for me in the same situation.
And how did it feel when the table was reversed, and now here you are fighting for your life, battling prostate cancer?
I was never worried.
Yeah.
I always knew that my wife she'd do what she had to do. Whatever it was to get me to where I needed to be to take her, it never crossed my mind.
Yeah.
There was no doubt. There was no concern.
Yeah.
I know my wife got me.
How does it feel? This is what I want y'all to speak to as we get ready to wrap up. And gosh, we got to wrap up. But let me tell you something, because I love that y'all hitting some key points. In a time, in a day and age where people say that men lose in marriage, they say women lose in marriage, that a woman gets married, her days of her life are shortened because of marriage.
That's why I had the stroke. Wait a minute. Where they say that at? Wait a minute. Show me that. Where they say that at?
That's why you had the stroke. So that explains it. I was doing
now,
this.
Wait a minute.
I was doing this fine before.
You say it come in threes, right? But I went through a metamorphosis, right?
Yeah.
You know, like I was telling you the other day, like I said, Jonah had to surrender in 3 days.
There it is.
Right? Jesus rose on the third day.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
what would you say to that? What would you say to your sisters out there, the queens that say, that's old school, like marriage doesn't really work? I see it. It just doesn't work as well. Y'all are an anomaly. That's just, I hear this story. It's great, but come on. I don't find value in marriage. Because you was once that woman.
You have to find value in yourself first before you can find value in anything else. And this is a hard conversation because I don't understand it. I go through social media and I hear 50-50, what you bring to the table and all these things, and I'm like, that was never a topic of discussion, because I just always seen what a man was supposed to do and what a woman could do and should do. And like I said, I was not wanting to say that I'm a traditional wife, but my husband has always allowed me the space to be me and made me want to be submissive to him.
Right.
But I just tell, women to trust the word and trust God, and what is for you will come to you. Right. A lot of times we go searching and I believe that sometimes we look for things when we're not ready. Mm-hmm. We go outside of God's vision. We want to snatch the pen while he's writing. Ooh. And so we have to trust God's path for us and our purpose. And not immediately is it always going to be marriage. And I don't think God is going to put you in a situation. How can I say this without
offending
anybody? Mm-hmm. And I never meant I would just say I never mean to offend, and I always try to be very mindful and cautious. But I just always say,
because you know how social media
how social media can take your word, take a little clip. Yeah. But I would just say, I'm just going to say this: what is for you will find you, right? And trust that. Like I said, what was for me found me, and I asked God exactly what I wanted, what I needed. I came to the realization that the things that I was desiring was outside of God's will. And that's why it was never meant to work. Yep. It never worked because it was always outside of will. I was chasing this. I was chasing that. People be like, one of the things say, well, I'd rather cry in a Rolls Royce than I've cried in one. Exactly. It feels the same.
Exactly.
It feels the same.
Isn't that crazy, that toxic mentality?
Yeah, it feels the same. It doesn't feel good. And I want substance. I want somebody I want to be with the man that when I can't wipe my own behind, that he's going to wipe it for me. And that's what I say with what I need. I just say whatever you need, ask God for that. Yeah. Ask God, because I always say the same man you praying for is outside praying for you.
Roy.
Yes, sir.
What would you say to these men who say that marriage isn't valuable? Men losing marriage. Why? Something can go wrong. You lose half of your money. Most of them ain't nothing but making about $40,000. They scared to lose half of their $40,000. Right. So what would you say? What would you say to that?
I would say it's not supposed to be easy. Anything, no matter what it is in this universe, anything that's worth having is going to take work. It's going to be hard. It's going to be times when you want to give up. It's going to be times when you thinking there's a easier, better path. That's life, right? And so it's always easier to take the easiest path and take the easy way out, right? It ain't hard to go out there and find as a man. There's more women than me. Yep. It ain't hard to find a woman. You can find 10, 20 of them. That's not the goal. The goal is you have to find somebody that's on your same wave, that's willing to build something with you.
And evolve together as you both evolve.
Yes. Someone that's willing to grow with you. Someone that's willing to give up a little bit of their independence, just like you're willing to give up a little bit of your independence.
That part.
To create a team, a solid foundation. It's not a selfish thing. Marriage can't be a selfish thing. It can't be a me thing. You know, it's a give and take, but it's also a conjoining kind of an effort.
Let me ask you, as a man, what was the most valuable thing that Shanta Q brought to you into your life?
The most valuable thing Shanta Q brought to my life? You know, she, I would say softness. She was always fighting and advocating for me to open up more, to love more. I was, like I said, I started out rough. Yeah. And so I was always, I would get it done, but I didn't want to hear nothing. You know what I mean?
And you say you went to the military?
and I was in the military.
Yeah.
So I was always, I was always rough.
Yeah.
I was fair, but I was tough love.
Yeah.
And so she always, Shanta's always been the person that showed me, she's unequivocal kindness. She's like the kindest person I know. She's nice to everybody, and she's optimistic and pessimistic. I don't like nobody. You know what I mean? I tell her that I ain't about nothing. I don't like nobody.
You're like, dang, just the mailman.
I don't
He just
need
dropped
no
off the
new
mail.
friends.
Like, I don't
Why
trust
he sit
him.
on the house on the couch? Well, he said his feet was hurting. So I got some lidocaine patches, and I thought I'd get
I don't want nobody coming to my house. What are you over here for?
So he called me officer friendly.
Yeah, officer friendly, right here. She give everybody a chance.
Officer friendly.
Yeah.
And so she showed me that
Softness.
I don't have to be like that.
Yeah.
And so that's the
Which actually brings more gravity to the fact that I see you acting silly and dancing all in
Right.
TikTok videos or whatever, because it has to be so far from what you would want your public image to be. And you said a lot of your friends
You're exactly right. I get clowned by my boys because they know, I have.
Or what they say, Roy is so much different around you.
Yeah.
Supposed to be.
He's supposed to be.
It's funny about life circles.
Yeah.
If you look at it. Because speaking of, my friends, I have a core group of friends that I've had for about 30 years.
Okay.
Same 5-6 dudes. We were all in the Navy. We met in 92. Same 5-6 dudes. And so those dudes will clown me. But those are also the same dudes. We're all married. We all have good situations. We're all good life-wise, kid-wise. And it goes back to that, your circle will define you.
That's
your
it.
friendship circle will define you.
Yeah.
And so that even with the TikTok, even though they clown me, they let me know, those are the same guys I go to when I need some real advice.
That's good.
They're the same guys I go to. If I lost every dime today, I know I can call them and I'm going to be straight.
That's good.
You know what I mean? So that all helps in life because you need a community too.
You
Right.
got
Community
to.
is everything.
Yeah.
Which, as we segue into social media, what brought you to social media, Shanta Q?
Well, so now I can say I always knew that I was going to be somebody, right? I always knew I was going to be somebody.
Somebody.
Going to be somebody.
You're going to be somebody.
But I never knew at what capacity I was going to do that. And it was a little bit of,
let me get your underscore music. If you want to be somebody, if you want to
I know
go
I can be what I want to be if I work.
Wake up and pay attention.
Yes. So I was always, I always had a side hustle. So I was always advocating for women, breast cancer, health, and wellness. So it was always my goal to be a thought leader, just to be out there, just advocating and trying to inspire people to do better in their life and to learn from what I learned from, right? And so, but I also at the same time love my job as a IRS employee. It worked hard for that job, and there was a shift. And when I tell you those 3 days of surrender and quietness and God getting you to listen and going through this metamorphosis, it was very challenging and debilitating. Like he said, I bring some softness to it because it was very hard. And my children during COVID, they seen how hard that was. They seen the difference in their mother. And so just one day, me and Roy were laying in the bed. My son and daughter said, "Hey, can you come do a TikTok video with us?" And we didn't know what TikTok was.
Yeah, we all.
We was like, "What? What is TikTok?" All I knew was Instagram and Facebook. And we went out in the living room and they set the camera up and we started doing these little games or these little challenges. And so it brought me so much joy. I thought, this is so fun. And so I asked the kids to download it on my phone. And so I was scrolling and you were just seeing about everything. I said, I didn't know the word.
Kids, put that on my phone. Like
I did.
Do that for now.
And I was like, and I was just a watcher at first. And I was like, man, there are so many people in the world that's grown. Like, we are the new grown folks.
Yeah.
And I was like, it is grown folks who have a sense of humor, who are silly. Like, I didn't think people could be as silly as me, except my friend Shantae. I did not think people could be as childlike as I currently am and have always been in my life. And I was like, I want to actually make a video. And so I started making videos, and I didn't know anything about virality. I didn't know any of that. That was not my concern. I was just having fun, and it made me feel good. And one day I was coming from therapy, and I was feeling, like they said, what Miss Celia, I was feeling mighty bad. I was feeling mighty bad, Miss Celia. And I came home and I turned on the camera, and I looked in the mirror, and I was like, you have just let yourself go. And my grandma used to always say, my Aunt Patsy used to always say, rode hard and put up with. Boo child, you can't get no rougher than rode hard and put up with. That means you're tired or you're busted. And so that's how I feel. Rode hard and put up with. You ever see an old rag, you twist and it get dry, you open it up, rode hard and put up with. Rolled hard. Like an old dirty dishcloth. That's what I was feeling. I was embodying that, and I knew that I was letting myself go. So instead of in that moment, like, just getting upset and being down, I was just crying, and God just told me to turn on the camera. So I turned on the camera and I started telling a story. And I had envisioned this story because I'm a great storyteller. I was like, I remember when my mom came to the school one day and I was embarrassed. And I told everybody that she wasn't my mama. And then she came back to the school and she was, Jane Kennedy. And I was like, that's my mama. Well, the story ends with me without my wig. That video had went viral. Like, I didn't know what viral was. All I know is that people started calling me, and my phone was going crazy, and I'm like, what is going on? And people were calling me from across the country, and people were like, hey, is this you? Like, is this you? And I'm like, and even my manager was like, and so now I'm thinking, like, I'm home on disability. Like, I'm still working. I still got a job. I'm like,
they done found me.
You talking real well, speech therapy. It looked like the speech therapy is working. Yeah. So we need you back working. So I was like, no, okay, all right. I'm like, what does this even mean? And I even asked my manager, I was like, am I going to get in trouble? And he's like, no, long as you don't, long as you do what you're doing. And the people started asking for more of it. And people were like, can you tell more stories? And, I even feel like that. Sometimes I look bad, but I'm not ashamed, and people just started, and I started telling more stories and more stories. And
how many views did that video get?
Overall, it was like 20 million.
20 million.
And that video goes viral. I can post that video right now. That video was back in 2020. I can post that video right now today, and it will go viral. It'll go viral. Everybody who posts it goes viral. Every voiceover, it goes viral.
I'm gonna go post that. I'm gonna get the video posted.
Yeah, I'm telling you. Then I'll be like, that's out of you.
I don't care. They're coming up on the podcast, so I just want to just remind y'all of this video.
Yeah. Listen, it went viral, and then people started reaching out to me. Famous people started reaching out to me. A famous comedian reached out to me and asked me, he said, hey, who's doing your writing for you? And I was like,
I am.
I said, I didn't write that. That's off the riff. That just came off straight from my head. And he was like, you need to get on stage. And I'm like, and I've always wanted to be a comedian and do all these things, but it just wasn't realistic. They're like, you want to be a clown. You don't want to be a comedian. That's what you want to be. You want to be a clown. Join the circus. You go get you a good job. Talking about you want to be a comedian.
You want to be a clown.
Be out in there in LA on Skid Row. Talking about you want to be a comedian.
I love old school. Old school, they will kill your dreams.
You better go be a nurse.
They will kill your dreams.
You want to be a nurse. You be a nurse. Get you a steady job so you can do all your life. Talking about a clown.
And now here you are.
Yeah.
On social
media.
Do
drugs too? Do that. But it was always in the back of my mind. And so I tried comedy. I did comedy, and I was successful. I was successful in comedy. And so I knew in that.
You went and did stand-up?
I did stand-up. I did. And got a standing ovation. Did so well.
She went to comedy school.
I went to comedy school.
Oh, you did?
So because
you got serious.
Because here's the thing. I'm a scholar by
So if you're gonna do something,
I'm gonna do something. So even when I asked, they were like, "Just go to open mic," and I'm like, "Go to open mic? No, I need studies. What are you talking about? I need to know the history of comedy. I need to know the history, and I need to know who was the first comedian and how did it start, and who was the first person to laugh. I need to know this and what made them laugh. I need to know all these things. It's very important.
Who's the first person to laugh?
Dissect the whole thing.
Comedy
like
school.
Comedy
why
school.
Did they laugh?
So yeah, why did they laugh? Listen, I need the antidote. I need the history, And so I went to school. Well, here's what happened. I didn't go to school immediately. I was like, I'm not going to no open mic because I didn't know that comedy school even existed. I didn't even once somebody said just do an open mic, I didn't do any more research. And one day, I got a DM from Dallas Comedy Club, and they said, "Hey, we found out that you're local. And we want some help with our social media. And if you help us with our social media, we'll give you all the free classes that you want." And so I'm like, look at God. For real. So I'm like, I went and I did the classes, and I said, I just needed to sit because I know there's a it's almost like mathematics. Yeah. It's an art to comedy. So I needed to know that art and how you formalize the semantics of a joke. And so I learned, and we had a graduation event. Yep. And so everybody got up and did their stand-up. And so when I did mine, I got up and I got a standing ovation. And after the show, all these people were walking up to me and they said, "Hey, well, when is your next show?" And I'm like, "Next show? I don't have no next show." I'm like, "I'm a student." And a lady said, "Student? We thought you were the headliner. We thought you came out with the graduates. We thought they brought you out with the graduates." And I was like, and even the teacher was like, because, he had told me to change a joke. Because I had a real rough joke, because I'm kind of like on the Chappelle side. I'm a prior Chappelle type of comedian. I'm not blue, but I can go there. And so he had, told me, I said, they want me to change the joke, and it's 30 minutes before the show, and this is a major part of this joke. This carries the joke. I don't know what to do. And so my husband was like, so he became a comedian. So he's like, he said, you can do it. And my daughter told me, she said, "Mama, you can do it." Because I was about to cry on the way from the club, because I knew I had a show in about an hour, about 30 minutes. And so I was like, I don't know how to do this. And so Roy was just working different things, and he's like, and so I finally came up with something, and I used it, and it was the best part of the joke. And you're welcome. And I was so grateful. Because it taught me how to pivot. Because if you go to a comedy club and they say, "Hey, you can't do this set," then what you gonna do? You gonna walk off and go home? Right. You got to get up and tell the jokes. And so it was one of the best experiences. But it also told me that I was walking in God's calling, because everything that I always wanted as a little girl had came back full circle. And so the only difference is God was like, "Hey, you're going to use this in a different way, because the person that I want you to talk to is a different kind of person." Teach. And so now when I'm disarming people, when I talk about health and wellness, and I'm talking about, hey, and I say something really hard and dark, people listen. Like, lipstick looks better when you're alive, And people are like, "Well, what? Hold on, wait, what do you mean lipstick looks better when you're alive?" And then people will start talking to me and saying, "Hey, I want to change my health and I want to do this." And so I've used humor to make health light, that make people want to take care of themselves. That's and good. Then also embody the things that we have as a family, and just being transparent and authentic about it, and not having to be like, like Instagram, like I said, Instagram be, but I'm like, I'm an imperfect person. I'm not perfect, and I don't want to show up that way. I show up as myself every day, whether I have my bonnet on, whatever that is, and I want people to be that free too. And it's just gone up from there. And so I've been able to have the opportunity to travel globally. I've been able to get some of the biggest brand deals, and it has just really changed my life in a way that I didn't know possible. But I do know those are the words that I've always spoke. Those are the words that I've always affirmed. Just, God, make me a light in this world. Yes. So people, you can talk in me, and I can talk to them.
That's good.
And that's what he's done.
You literally become his puppet, and he's your ventriloquist to speak through you. That's a beautiful thing. Yep. Because Shanta gonna put on some clothes.
She's sure.
That's what a catchphrase. If you know, you know. Listen, let me ask you this: for the people that don't know, how many followers do you have on TikTok?
I have 1.4 million.
How many you have on Instagram?
Almost 1.4 million.
And then at Facebook, how many did you have before?
I had almost 1 million, about 1 million, and somebody hacked me in February, and we are just back at almost 500,000.
So, could you imagine? I know you probably can't, because those numbers sound ridiculous. To know that you have over 4 million people that are concerned and interested in the content you put out.
Yeah.
That's a lot of people.
Yeah. A lot of responsibility. But those people were designed for me. Those people are my calling. And like I tell everybody else, like everybody has a calling in life, and there's a person that is designed for you, and only you can deliver that message.
Absolutely.
And so the people that, at first I was like, hey, people were telling me you got to niche down. You can't be going into the corporate world and being silly. You can't be doing keynotes with, pharmaceutical companies and being silly on social media. And I thought that for a long time. I was trying to change up until I was working with a pharmaceutical company.
And that's the reason why they want you.
And well, at first they didn't even really know. They wanted me because of my health story. And
so they didn't even know about your TikToks and stuff?
Listen, it's so crazy. So they did not. It was basically because I was doing health advocacy and I was speaking, and American Heart Association had me on some campaigns, and I was doing videos about health and wellness, especially on LinkedIn. So
you be serious?
Yeah, that's on LinkedIn. Yeah, so a lot of those I would be serious because at that time I was still healing. Okay. And so the thing they always tell you about, if you haven't healed from something, you can't talk about it. But the thing is that I was always crying because I wasn't healed. So I was telling my story, and it was very impactful because of the tears and, all these things. And it was honest. It was what I was going through.
Yeah.
And so I come on this call with all these pharmaceutical, reps, and I'm telling my story. And so this guy asked me this question, and it was kind of like a weird question. And I come out with some of the the joke is just... Yeah, it was terrible. And so it was very, very dark, and so I see everybody on the screen red. It gets quiet. I tell him about it. I'm like, oh my God, I don't even know why I said that. But I was being myself. I was like, they're never going to call me again. And I was just I felt defeated because this was like my first big opportunity, and I was getting paid. It was actually being a consultant. So about 5 or 6 days later, the facilitator calls me, and he's like, hey, let me tell you something. When I tell you we got off that phone, we was yelling and hollering and crying. You are funny. You are hilarious.
So when you said it, everybody covered their face?
Everybody covered. The reaction was like, oh my God. I can't believe, this is such a professional setting. Like, why was she like, what is she like? Like, I can't believe she said it. And
what did you say?
So this guy, we were talking about health and wellness and the importance of going to the doctor and hospitals, and how people don't have time to go to the hospital. And so he was like, I really don't have time to go to the hospital. And I was like, well, do you got time to go to the casket? You get in the casket, listen, I can get your obituary ready. I can get your makeup. I can do all those things for you. If you ain't got time to go to the hospital, you sure got time to go to, you don't come back from that. So anyway, and so he was just like,
he was one of the head people.
Yeah, he was like one of the people on the call. So he was like, and everybody else was like, and there's I'm the only woman of color on this screen, right? So nobody else. It's just me. I'm the only melanated person on the screen. Oh, and I was just like, and after I got to going, because I done got going or whatever, so I'm on a roll, right? So the punches,
hey, Shanta Q coming out.
Yeah, the punches is punching. Like I'm hitting punch. Every 3 minutes. What do you say? Every 3 seconds they laugh. That's in my head, and I'm punching. Yeah, and everybody's like, oh my. And he was like, when I tell you, he said, listen, when we do our meetings in the future, I want you to do them like that. I want you to do it just like that. And I was like, but God is allowing me to be 100% me in no matter what settings. And so now, even with American Heart Association, I was not only the first comedian, but the first comedian, first woman, first black comedian to actually come in and do a stand-up set for their Go Red Women here women here in Dallas, Texas, on a national.
Yeah, that's huge.
And so
that's huge. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. And so now I know You know, I am truly walking in my purpose confidently. And the only person I got to answer to is God. And I have somebody who supports me wholeheartedly in that, and has always done that. Like, no matter if he doesn't agree, he's like, listen, I know you're going to do it anyway. So got your back.
Right. It don't matter. She's going to do it anyway.
You're going to do your thing.
Yeah.
How does it feel, though, as we wrap up, to be married for this many years with, I can venture to say, because I see how y'all act with each other, your best friend?
Yeah. It's amazing because I've seen it my entire life. So now I'm actually living in what I've always witnessed my whole life, what I was always trying to run from something that was so great. And let me say, I won't say all great. I ain't gonna tell that lie. But I did see as a young, until you get older and you start finding out that what they were doing. Yeah. But as a child growing up, I saw stability, I saw love. I saw affirmation. I seen all those things. And, and like I said, there's nothing perfect. You go through ups and downs, but the thing is being able to communicate and being able to understand each other. Like I can say, and he has never, it was only one time he raised his voice at me, and that was because he was arguing with another man, and I got in, and he's like, hey, even my daddy told me, my daddy's like, you don't do that. He was in his right. Everybody growling. He said, he was within his right, but the entire time we have been married, he's never raised his voice at me. He is never, and I can't say I am, but he is always. But he is always. You can't have two people hollering and screaming, but that was through my stroke. I was going through a lot of stuff. My blood pressure was high, cholesterol, my sugar high. You can only handle so much.
Stuff happens.
Stuff happens.
My cholesterol was high.
Cholesterol, everything. All my numbers messed up.
All my numbers off. So my voice was attached to
my voice attached to my numbers.
So your
numbers
high.
is high.
My voice high.
Your voice high. Yeah. So, but he has always he has always been there and understanding me and met me where I was at in That's that good. And we've done both things, so it feels good. Like now we're in our he just retired October 1st, and so now he said yesterday, I was talking to my friends and he's like, I just enjoy being home with my wife. We just be sitting, talking, joking, looking at TikToks, keeping up a bunch of foolishness. The kids are there making TikToks. Yeah. So my hat came off. That means it's time to go. But God, you be talking, don't you? Listen.
Last time somebody sat on the couch, their wig fell off.
Wait, I remember. I used that sound. Sound. My God. Oh, my God. Yes, but I'm glad it was my wig because it is attached to it. Let's go viral today.
Let's go viral.
But yeah, it's just an amazing walk, and now we're just, we just going down. We just growing old together, and now we're building legacy.
That's good.
We're building legacy and teaching our children what true marriage looks like. What true marriage looks like. We've been so transparent. Sometimes now people say, stop saying that you. What's the little thing people used to say? Marriage goals. Don't.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have to witness it, but you also have to embody it. And so I've never looked at somebody's relationship and said, I want that relationship, because you never know what's going on behind closed doors, because everybody's going to have challenges. And that's the thing, It's not, you don't have to work hard. You don't have to have struggle of, but you will have obstacles, and you have to be able to withstand that. And you already have to have a strong bond. And I think the greatest thing about us is that he courted me and we built a friendship that was outside our relationship. So we were already good friends and already enjoyed our time and being with each other. So it was almost like we have a friendship and then we have a marriage.
Amen. Roy, as you conclude, what would you like to add?
Ditto. Everything she said. Don't overcomplicate it.
Yeah. Are you gonna stay retired?
Oh yeah.
Oh good. Sometimes people be retired and the next thing I'm gonna go to Walmart. You're gonna be one of them greeters.
Nah, them folks don't be retired.
You want me to whoop him? I'll whoop him.
They be in transition. That's not a retirement. That's a transition. That's a transition.
You retire from to two.
Yeah.
Well, listen, man, thank y'all so much for blessing the people on the Dear Future Wifey podcast. I thank y'all. Keep loving each other well. Keep building legacy. Keep growing together, laughing together, creating crazy TikTok videos together, dancing together, cracking jokes, and not taking life so seriously, because y'all both know what it feels like to have your life been challenged due to health issues. That, you know, y'all laughed at the devil and told him that we still here. Mm-hmm. So keep doing what y'all doing.
Here.
You're still here.
Dorinda, go. You got to play that when
play that one day.
Play that one day during our thing.
I'm gonna play it in the highlight video. Listen, y'all give it up. Give it up for Shanta Quillette. And Roy.
Sexual chocolate. I almost
sexual chocolate. Sexual chocolate. Give it up to Shanta Quillette and my homie, Roy Williams. Stay tuned to the end for a letter to my future wifey.
And writing these love letters to you.
Ladarian, thrusted suddenly into Child Protective Services in 2015. My nephew, Black, a boy. The likelihood of being adopted outside of kinship, slim to none. Armani, 16 years old, Black, a boy, with 5 years in the foster care system before I even knew his name. The likelihood of ever being adopted, yep, you guessed it, slim to none. While Ladarian and Armani were trying to survive and barely thrive in an overpopulated and underfunded foster care system, I was living my own life, doing well professionally. Having been a single father with a daughter who at that point was doing well in college, it was my time to live my life, right? Wrong. I felt unsettled, tireless, agitated. There are just too many of our Black children stuck in ambiguity and in the limbo of the foster care system. In 2017, I legally adopted my nephew, Ladarian. Fast forward to 2019, I had no ties to this other young king, but I felt God instructed me to adopt him also, and I obeyed. Starting over with parenting should have been enough, right? Working with various foster care and adoption agencies to help bring awareness to the countless young Black kings in the foster care system should have decreased my agitation, right? Joining the board of directors of Advantage Adoption, an organization that helps find permanent adoptive homes for children in foster care, should have led to some type of resolve, right? No, not at all. None of it felt like I had done enough. I now realize that every one of those experiences was laying the fundamental foundation for my life's mission, Kingdom Royale. Kingdom Royale will be a luxury, state-of-the-art home for foster boys. Our first location will be in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. We will utilize the whole person approach that instills identity, empowers them to advocate for themselves, and enlightens them regarding new perspectives and limitless options that they thought were impossible. Though the young kings will attend the local public schools that are in proximity to Kingdom Royale, our at-home curriculum will broaden their worldview through participating in the arts, attending various cultural events, learning about and engaging in multifaceted discussions about current events and even relevant historical context, introducing them to gardening and landscaping and even caring for our animals on our farm and on-site stables. We just launched our Startup Capital campaign with the goal of raising $2.8 million. Now, why $2.8 million? Well, in 2017, I created a web series in which I performed random acts of kindness for targeting the homeless community. One of the most notable successes was that one of the videos went viral, garnering 28 million views. However, one of my biggest regrets is that I didn't raise a single dollar to help in implementing a more sustainable plan for the homeless community. So throughout the years, with much remorse, I reflected on not maximizing that moment. I knew if at that time, just 10% of the viewers donated $1, we would have raised at least $2.8 million that could have really established long-term support for the homeless community, or at least started a long-term initiative to do so. This is my do-over. This is our new beginning. Together, we can attack this at the root by specifically helping our homeless Black boys who are already disproportionately represented in the American foster care system. I'm Shanta Q Williams. I've been nominated for 3 regional Emmys documenting my work with the homeless as well as my personal adoption journey. Despite those accolades, the greatest award for me is truly providing the infrastructure for a transformed life. Visit kingdomroyale.com for more details. Crown a king and make a donation today. I know this episode was pretty long, so I'm not going to belabor the point. Here's my favorite part of the podcast where I speak to my future wifey. Dear future wifey, let's make laughter the soundtrack of our marriage, the melody that fills the air between our words. I want our home to echo with joy, to hum with spontaneous giggles and inside jokes only we understand. I want laughter to be our default setting when life tries to throw static into our frequency. May our living room be a stage for playful teasing, our kitchen a comedy club where we dance to burnt toast and bad singing. Let's make humor holy, not to mask pain, but to redeem it. Because when we laugh, even tears lose their power to wound us. Let laughter underscore every argument we resolve, every memory we create, every ordinary Tuesday that becomes extraordinary simply because it happened with you. I don't want silence to score our lives. I want laughter to the kind that erupts mid-sentence, the kind that heals mid-heartache. That sound will be the music of our love, timeless, contagious, and sacred. Your future hubby.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Dear Future Wifey podcast. Remember, be lit, live intentionally and transparently, and don't stop loving.
Make sure to subscribe to our Dear Future Wifey YouTube channel. We're available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and Stitcher. We welcome your support. Simply share our podcast with your friends and family.